Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and with me is Mr. Andrew Meadows. Hello, sir.
Colton Brown. It's been a long time. I'm glad
It's been a long time.
Both back in the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about an interesting release.
Talk about a controversial film. Talk about a long delayed release. Lots of things to talk about on this episode because we're talking about the new 2020 live action iteration of Disney's Mulan, and all the things that come with that. I myself am happy to be back in the hot seat as well. We kind of took an unprompted week off, more or less, which I will take the blame for. I happened to go on a little impromptu vacation of sorts, so went off the grid and didn't have time for podcasting. It's simple as that. But it was good. I got a little R&R in, and now we're back and more ready than ever, or something like that. But we're back. I think that's the bottom line. So yeah, we got some stuff to talk about on this episode. As far as Mulan is concerned, we've obviously haven't recorded in 2 weeks, haven't put out an episode in 2 weeks, which means that there's going to be plenty of news to catch up on. I can say for sure we're going to be talking about some good stuff, some box office stuff, some release date shuffles, and we got a handful of trailers that I know one Andrew Meadows is going to be very excited to talk about.
Very excited about a couple of trailers, actually.
Oh, yeah, a couple of trailers, at least a couple of trailers there that are going to be pretty exciting to talk about. So, all that and more coming up on this episode of Watch, Review, Repeat. So, why don't we kick it off in our ordinary fashion with a fun fact, hopefully related to this new release of Mulan, or you can go old school and bring us a 1998 era fun fact, if you will.
I am going to go the oldest school. And
are you going to the legend?
I am going to the Chinese folklore titled The Ballad of Mulan.
Okay.
So Mulan is based on a Chinese folklore story called The Ballad of Mulan. And it's about a young lady who takes her father's place in the military, and she does all these fantastic things in the military. She gets recognized by the Emperor of China at one point, and gets invited to participate in the highest court. She denies and goes back home and reveals her identity. And the last thing in the Ballad of Mulan, the last little bit. Says a male hare has 4 very moving feet. A female hare has a pair of squinted eyes. But when the 2 hares running side by side, how could you tell the female from the male? And that's how the ballad ends. And I think it's really cool. I think that the story of Mulan is very cool. I think it's a very cool story, and for it to originate from such an old thing, or an old story or what have you, an old folklore tale, is even more cool. And possibly the coolest thing about everything is that Mulan has a crater named after her on Venus. Oh. There's a crater on Venus named after Mulan.
Okay.
So maybe that is in fact probably older than the folklore tale, but it was named after Mulan. So.
Are you talking about the same Venus, which may have life on it as of
yes.
news reports from I think the past couple days?
That's
or evidence of life, not exactly aliens walking around and stuff, but evidence of I don't even know what the latest
life,
is.
maybe.
Yeah, microbial life, I think is kind of what we're looking at. But hey, life is life.
Life
finds a way.
That's it. So Mulan graduated from folklore to a Disney cartoon in, I think, 1998. And the 1998 cartoon is one of my favorite Disney cartoons, I think. I really like that one. And that film went to win Best Animated Feature from the Annie Awards. It It earned Golden Globe and Academy Award nominations, and it's a really good freaking cartoon. We'll probably end up sprinkling some of our opinions and stuff in there throughout the review of this movie.
Yeah,
because you got to compare.
It's inevitably going to draw comparisons. I mean, it's an updated live action take on it, and it is certainly not the same movie. But I guess it remains to be seen whether that is for better or for worse. So
we'll talk about it.
We will talk about it. Any other fun facts that you have ready to go?
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I know that this one is supposed to be kind of based more so on the legend itself. I feel like that was the way that they were marketing this new one, is that it's, the 1998 Disney one. It's a Disney cartoon. It's taking little, some liberties with kind of the material, as this one is supposed to be more faithful or something along those lines. I haven't read the Ballad of Mulan, so I couldn't tell you if that's really true after seeing the film, but I think that was the idea anyway. I have, I guess, some fun facts that I might want to tack on to you, but they steer in a very different direction. I think this is more following onto the controversial nature of what I talked about. Mulan has carried a bit of controversy with it. I would say actually for quite some time, but recently specifically. I'll go ahead and talk about that now. And this is something else I think that we'll probably end up getting into a little bit once we actually start talking about the film itself in a little bit more detail. But I don't know. I don't think you're a big avid user of the Twitter. I don't think you are.
Twits? No, I don't think get on the twits too much. Twitter.
Yeah, well, hashtag boycott Mulan was trending pretty recently within the past
I saw
couple
that.
weeks, something like that. And well, I guess to backtrack ever so slightly, back in 2019, Liu Yufei, who plays Mulan in this film, made some comments that generated some controversy in their own right. Hong Kong embroiled in a pretty, a pretty horrendous kind of situation where law enforcement has basically been visibly brutal towards protesters that are supporting, democracy in Hong Kong and China, and that
it's a really big thing. Like,
it's a huge thing.
We never talked about this. I got in some conversations at work about it, and a lot of conversations that come from work. I don't know how to describe them, but I took to the internets to research Hong Kong. Hong Kong is its own entity within China, but it's still recognized as it's like a sovereign. It's almost like maybe the Vatican within Italy, I guess. Is that a similar comparison, you think?
Yeah. I don't know if it's 1-to-1, but yeah, I think the idea is correct.
Yeah, it's a real wacky situation, and I think if you're gonna talk about, I mean, I don't know if you know enough about it. I don't quite know enough about it to really talk about it. But if you're going to draw an opinion about her opinion on who she supports and who she doesn't support, you have to kind of draw on the larger picture of what it is that she's drawing opinions about, right? I feel like a lot of people are talking about it, and I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. Obviously, if they're brutalizing people, that's really bad. But what are they fighting for? Do you know what they're fighting for? The people in Hong Kong?
I mean, I think they're proponents of democracy. They're trying to break free from the Chinese grip, basically, over Hong Kong. I think is
China itself has no grip over Hong Kong, right?
I think they're they're separate governments, separate from the mainland China. But I think that
China is imposing its power on Hong Kong. And the people of Hong Kong are rebelling. Is that essentially what it is? More or less, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a pretty broad generalization, and I'm surely missing details that I, am ignorant of. But yes, I think you could probably look to that as a fair enough synopsis of what is happening. Anyway, I guess to kind of pull it all together, the bottom line was law enforcement has basically committed visible acts of violence against protesters. And, here in the
Stranger to
United
that.
States, obviously we're no strangers to protests. First Amendment rights should theoretically protect protesters, but often protests have devolved into violence at the hands of law enforcement. And so yes, we are no stranger to that. Anyway, we get that sort of thing. But she came out in support of the police, which obviously there are supporters of police in this country too. That's obviously not a hot take, but it's one of those things where that was not a popular opinion, across social media. People were pretty upset, left Disney in a pretty shitty situation of, oh fuck, here's the star of our new big movie who is making statements that are ostracizing, people who are rebelling against law enforcement, brutalizing protesters and participating in fascistic types of behaviors. And so that was a bad look. Not great, Bob, you might say.
No.
I think she had to cancel an appearance at some sort of convention or something that was going to happen around that time. But that was all last year. And, 2019 is its all, we look back fondly on 2019 and all its controversies because 2020 has just brought a shit show of everything. And so the latest shit show as far as, Mulan is concerned is that people noticed while watching the credits that Disney thanked several government bodies in Xinjiang, it's a Chinese province, in the film's credits because they filmed there.
And they got concentration camps and shit in that region of China, right?
This is a region in China. It's a province in China that has about 1 to 2 million Uyghur Muslims located in concentration camps, literal concentration camps. And so, it kind of felt like Disney playing ball with China in a way that, was saying like, concentration camps, who cares? We just want to film our movie.
We'll film around
and appease China. And so, that's obviously pretty gross, right? I don't think it's not that Disney is necessarily explicitly saying we support this. It's just saying we'll turn a blind eye towards it and film here because we want to make that Chinese dough at the box office. And so that's pretty gross.
And how much did what did they get from China to film there? Surely there's benefits and tax rebates or whatever to maybe not tax rebates, but there's benefits to. There's some sort of handout from China, I'm sure.
I'm not sure if there is. There may be. I don't actually know one way or another if there is. I mean, I think at a bare minimum, it's really just a case of Chinese film goers are theoretically going to enjoy something that they know was filmed in China, and maybe it'll feel more authentic or something like that. I assume that's the idea: is you play ball with the Chinese government, the Chinese people will like that and go watch your movie and give you money. I think that was kind of the idea behind this. And honestly, I mean, this went completely unnoticed while it was filming. It was pretty much, like I said, it was like just a literal credit and thanking the Chinese government in the credits that like was what brought attention to this in the first place. So that's been not great. So
it's a clusterfuck. It's a big shit show.
It's much like everything else that has happened in 2020, pandemic or otherwise. It's a real clusterfuck, and it left Disney with quite the predicament with releasing this film to the backdrop of basically controversy and not a good position to be in. But
they'd have a hard time filming in California though. California and all the West Coast is
the whole West Coast is a shit show. Yes, that's true.
Oh,
gender reveal parties. Don't do it, folks.
Don't do those.
Don't do it. Don't set shit on fire. Come on now. Yeah. So yes. I guess the question is, to the backdrop of all these controversies, how does this film fare in China? Otherwise, stay tuned. You'll find out when we talk about the film itself. We're gonna shift into a little bit of a different direction for now, and then we'll go back to Mulan. All right. So let's talk about some news. Let's unfortunately begin talking again about the passing of an actor who brought some joy to our lives, I think, for sure, at least in a couple roles, and that is Dame Diana Rigg, who unfortunately passed away at age 82.
Quite possibly the best actress in Game of Thrones.
Passed away of cancer after she was diagnosed in March. She played Lady Olenna Tyrell in Game of Thrones from, I think, maybe season 2 or 3 onward, and she was absolutely brilliant in that role. Just verbally destroyed basically every single person she shared the screen with, and we loved every second of it. Even to, I think, her moment where that character exits stage left in Game of Thrones. That was actually still a really good scene, and one that was brilliantly performed by her. So 82 is a good life, a full life, and she left us with not only that Game of Thrones performance, but one of the most memorable Bond girls, I think, as well. We'll talk about James Bond in a little while, but she played Tracy in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, 1969 film, the only James Bond film to star Australian actor George Lazenby as James Bond. It's one of my favorite Bond films, and I think a lot of that has to do with Tracy, who is one of the most integral Bond girls, I think, in general, with holding the distinction of actually tying the knot with James Bond. So that's a pretty big deal.
That's the one where they go skiing, right?
Yep, that's the skiing one.
Oh yeah, that was
right.
good. Yeah, I remember this one. I like this James Bond.
Yeah, I think it's great. So anyway, Diana Rigg was the Bond girl in that. Contessa Teresa Di Vincenzo.
I did look up. She was in the Avengers, and so
yes,
I was like, I don't
TV show.
I don't remember her being in the Avengers.
The other Avengers, yes, the British one. Yes, that's correct.
I didn't look it up. I refused to look it up there for a little while, and I racked my brain about it for like 4 or 5 hours, and I just don't remember. I got to look her up, and then it was not the same Avengers. So
yes, she played Emma Peel in the British television series The Avengers, which has absolutely nothing to do with the Marvel Avengers.
Fabulous actress, though, for sure.
Yes, wonderful. Like I said, brought a lot of joy with those particular performances that we have. We had the fortune of seeing. So rest in peace to Dame Diana Rigg. Now, shifting gears into some box office stuff. I think it's important we talk about some box office stuff, given that here in the States, theaters are by and large open. Again, still with, I think, seating restrictions and capacity restrictions in place. But by and large, they're open. And wouldn't you know it, Tenet is in theaters. Can you believe that? Tenet's in there. I think.
What's crazy?
I think I didn't.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it. Oh,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
He's held strong to his convictions.
I have.
It's impressive.
Yeah. I had a customer riding with me today in a car. He's like, "You can just take your mask off. I don't give a shit about these things." I'm like, "Nope, sir. I'm just gonna keep mine on."
Yes, that is why the country is in the state that it is in, is because of people like that.
He says, "I ain't got no corona." I'm like, well, it's okay.
Right, show me a test result, and maybe I'll take you at your word. But
I'm gonna keep mine on. Anyways, so I have not seen Tenet in theaters, but
good for you. Pat on the back. But
have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. No big deal.
Within the confines of a bubble.
Within the confines of a personally owned vehicle,
nice.
although one owned by Anna, not myself. Saw it at a drive-in. Yeah, I was up in Vermont, and Vermont's kind of like its own country within a country in a way, in the sense that
so secluded.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of up there. It's tucked away, sure, but the government actually gives a shit about people there, so their case count is one of the lowest in the country. It's quite the polar opposite to a Florida type state, which, Florida's not doing so hot. I guess you could say Georgia's doing worse. Maybe that's your one, thing you can say about Florida. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty safe up there. I think theaters for the most part are actually still closed, the regular theaters, but the drive-ins are up and running. A lot of drive-ins have been up and running basically for most of the summer, because that's kind of been the only way to see movies safely. Now, of course, they've largely been showing, classics and stuff like that, because studios haven't put a lot of new movies into theaters. But Tenet, that was kind of the big one. It's the test case, right? Of, New Mutants came out, yeah, great, but New Mutants was never going to do great. Certainly would have done better than it did, as we talked about. But no one was looking to the New Mutants as, if New Mutants does really well, then like, the game is on type thing. Whereas Tenet was very much a case of, if this does well, then, everyone's off to the races. And if it doesn't do well, maybe we got to reconfigure our plans.
So how did it do?
So where do we stand with Tenet? It's a great question. Well, it's made $200 million worldwide.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I was like 200 million. That's not so bad.
It was supposed to be a bait and switch a little bit for our listeners. So it was supposed to be a dramatic pause. I hope it worked with some dramatic effect. So yeah, it's actually doing pretty well worldwide, I'd say. I mean, this is a film that cost $200 to $225 million to make, so it's going to want to make more than $200 million all told. Otherwise, it's losing money.
It won't lose.
It's made, I would say, about 75% of its worldwide figure outside of North America.
Imagine that.
Which is to say that in North America, things have not been doing too hot. So WB, in their infinite wisdom, basically, as soon as, like, after its first weekend in the United States aired, like Sunday, Monday, they gave their numbers, and like it made $20 million over the weekend. And it's like, okay, that's like, almost three times as much as what New Mutants made in its weekend. So, Tenet's 3 times as popular as the New Mutants. Sure, that seems fair. If New Mutants made $30 million on like a normal weekend, Tenet would make like 90 or 80, something like that. And you'd be like, yeah, that's a pretty good figure. So, you kind of rough it out that way. However, what WB was not telling you was that was including a holiday weekend, so Labor Day. It was also including Thursday previews. It was also including 11 full days that it had been playing in Canada, which accounted for, I think, at least half of that $20 million.
Holy shit.
So I think, let's see, the actual numbers that I'm looking at now, which is now, it's past its second weekend now, so we actually have the second weekend numbers too. But its first weekend numbers in the United States alone, it did $9.4 million, which is $2 million more than the New Mutants did.
Ooh.
And it made $6.7 million in its second weekend.
Christopher Nolan's pissed.
Which is a 30% drop off, which is pretty respectable in terms of pure percentages. But however, when you actually look at the literal numbers behind that, you think, oh God, this thing's made $30 million domestically through 2 weeks, which is
terrible,
again,
absolutely fucking awful.
Which is less than ideal, is what I would say about that. Now, obvious caveat, certain markets are still closed. I think Los Angeles, New York, theaters are still closed. Those are huge, huge markets that are integral to the box office performance. But I think, to quote the headline of an Atlantic article that came out yesterday, quote unquote, Hollywood's Tenet experiment failed. Christopher Nolan's blockbuster was supposed to save U.S. theaters. Now the future looks bleaker than ever.
Oh, shit.
And I think that's true. It's unfortunate, obviously. Christopher Nolan himself clearly was like, I'm the king of cinema. I'm the king of the box office. My grandeur, $200 million blockbuster, is going to save Hollywood. And I guess it was a bold claim and, a bold effort. But I to my surprise, I will admit being surprised. I really thought people would flock to cinemas as soon as it was humanly possible.
I thought I was going to.
We had the conversation. You and I are talking about how you were ready to go hang out and watch Bill and Ted. A few weeks back, and you still haven't seen Tenet, as you just mentioned. So clearly you're holding strong. And as much as I love you, and I do love you. I definitely
love you too, dude.
I definitely would have expected you in Florida of all places where
you have the ability.
Yeah, we're let's be honest, they're not treating it as seriously as other parts in the country. I think that's probably fair to say on the whole. And I think a lot of that attitude trickles down. To be honest, is if your local government doesn't really give a fuck, it's hard for you to give a fuck. I mean, not that you can't, not that you shouldn't, but I just think by and large, your populace is not going to take things seriously if the people in charge aren't doing so. And so I just figured, those places where things, business as usual, open everything back up. I just really thought people would flock to it. But, the public has, in a way, spoken and said, we'll wait. we'll wait on the movie theaters. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate in the sense that, you know, we're probably not going to be getting a whole lot of new things in the near future as a result of this, which I'll talk about momentarily. But I feel my faith in humanity is ever so slightly restored. Just knowing that people
I think there's
are
a lot of
choosing to prioritize their
contributions to
health.
that, though. There's just so much going on. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with everything. You
definitely.
know? It's packed. The year's packed full. So, I mean, as much as I would like to toot my own horn and say I've been socially responsible for the sake of being socially responsible, I think that it's easy to. It's just with it. Yes, I would like to go see it. I can go see it, but it's easier just to. It's actually easier to say, you know what, I can go see it, but I'm actually kind of busy, and I don't necessarily. I'm not going to pencil it in. I'm not going to pencil it. I don't have the availability to pencil it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oftentimes I have to designate a day, a time to go to the movie theaters and everything else. I need to go out of my way to go do it. Now it's just easier not to go do it, and it's socially responsible not to. So it's like, well, I'm just not going to go see it, I guess, you know? But, and that's the way I've justified not seeing it.
Well, any way you got to do it is totally fine. You know, circumstances just kind of worked out to the point where I was like, you know what, I can see it, and I can say, obviously, I didn't want to see it in a drive-in. I wanted to see it in IMAX, and I think that there's something to be said for the viewing experience, and I do think that that impacted my enjoyment of the film overall. But I can also say,
do you get it over radio? Do you get the audio over radio?
That's right. Yeah, they give you an AM station to tune into, so it's just coming through the car speakers.
Does it sound like typical AM quality, or does it sound like FM because it's so close?
It's pretty good quality, I think, overall, but you're obviously limited in that it's coming from your car speakers, which are going to be as good as they are, and Anna's car speakers are the stock speakers. You know, it's like...
So if I went into the drive-in with a couple of subs in the back and
might be pretty legit, you know, if you come in, you know, with your thing totally tricked out, it could be pretty legit for sure. But
rattle the windows.
Yeah, you know, you're limited, you know, obviously. But for me, it was a case of, if I don't see it now, who knows when I'll be able to see it. Maybe WB decides to push this into a VOD platform because it's not doing all that well sooner rather than later. I think that should be the move, but who knows what's going on? I'm sure Christopher Nolan's still throwing a fit over something, so we'll see if that happens.
No tweets or anything from Chris Nolan on it?
I don't know. Not that I've seen, but I don't know. You know, it's just...
Because he was tooting a horn for sure.
Yeah,
I am going to save you.
I think WB is like, we're pleased with everything so far. Like, yeah, everything's good so far. We're really happy with the numbers, and but they've also there was a period of time where they refused to give their box office numbers to other movie studios that were clearly weighing we got a movie coming out in a month. What should we do?
How you doing?
You know, and let's see how, you know, they tested the waters. Let's see how things are going.
Fuck you! I'm not showing you my cards.
No. Yeah, which is I mean, a pretty clear sign of this is bad. This is real bad. So, yes, I think the bottom line is it has to be disappointing. Fortunately, other countries are at a point where, you know, they can hopefully make up for the bulk of that business. But if you're missing the domestic market, no movie can really, really recover from that, except for maybe Fast and Furious, because those things make $1 billion worldwide alone, or overseas alone, I guess I should say. So yeah. Less than ideal for Tenet in terms of the box office debut. And so what ramifications does that have on the release date of future films? Turns out quite a lot. WB, you know, is saying, you know, everything's great. Tenet's, we're really happy about this numbers, but also we're going to delay Wonder Woman by a few months. It's completely unrelated. Don't worry about it. Don't look into any of this. Everything's fine. So yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 is moved from October 2nd to Christmas Day 2020, December 25th. Nice punt of a couple months, almost 3 months, I guess, really. So that to me suggests that they're not overly confident about theaters doing good business. in October, which I think is probably a fair assumption at this point. So I think it's probably a smart move to move it to December 25th. Now, one interesting wrinkle of this, something we're going to talk about a little bit later, spoiler, we got a Dune trailer finally. Finally got a fucking Dune trailer. We're going to talk about it.
Woo!
Dune is still scheduled for December 18th, a week before Wonder Woman 1984, and is also a WB film. So right now they're planning to release 2 films on back-to-back weeks, which is basically unheard of. And I would argue is an incredibly bad idea. And
they're going to push it.
So I think Dune is going to get pushed the next year. I think even if Wonder Woman, I mean, there's a fair chance to be somewhat pessimistic, but perhaps somewhat realistic. Not really sure that theater is going to be much safer in December. Maybe a vaccine's out in the wild, maybe, knock on wood, but it's not going to be fast enough for theaters to just magically be back to normal, So even Christmas kind of feels like optimistic. So who knows if Wonder Woman even makes this date? But yeah, I think Dune absolutely has to move. I just can't see a world in which WB is going to want to have 2 hopeful tentpole movies on back-to-back weeks. It just seems like that's just going to, it's just a bad idea. You're killing you're killing any leg that Dune could have, or
Wonder Woman.
Or Wonder Woman, yeah. Dune could run into, if Dune's a smash success, then that could run into Wonder Woman's numbers. So yeah, it just seems like a horrendous idea. And obviously, it'd be one thing if it was Wonder Woman versus another studio's film, which, has some healthy competition, but competing against yourself seems awfully dumb. And a little ass backwards, if you ask this expert. So we'll see what happens. But as of now, Wonder Woman 1984 heading to Christmas. So Disney is looking at this and saying, hey, okay, well, Black Widow is scheduled to open November, and we're not feeling great about that. So no official move has been made, but it sounds like Disney's going to move Black Widow. It sounds like I think the intent is still to have it as a theatrical release, which to me implies that they'll probably bump it to next year.
And they're also changing their contracts. Did you read that? Where they're changing their contracts to where the actors, actresses, and film, the people that create the film, staff of the film, cannot tweet about foreign or local governments, foreign or domestic governments at all before the movie is released. Did you read about that?
No, I don't know anything about that.
No, I completely made that up.
Okay. I was going to say, this has completely bypassed my attention. I suppose that's why.
No, but they probably going to change their contract after the lead actress of Mulan tweeted about the Chinese government. So they're probably going to have that.
I see. I didn't even get the joke. It just completely flew over my head.
I wish everybody could have seen your face. You're like, what? No.
I was just like, shit, this is some late breaking shit, man. Like, are you looking at news while we're podcasting? Is that what's happening? Yeah, so Black Widow's going to move. I'd say expect it next year. I think that's probably a safe bet. Pixar's Soul is set for November 20th. That's also probably going to move. There's talks that they might do
digital release on that.
They might pull a Mulan and do a premiere access type thing on Disney Plus, and then probably put it out a few months after the fact on Disney Plus or VOD type stuff. All seems totally fair. If October isn't great, why is November much better? Why is December much better? So we'll see what happens. No, like I said, no official moves, but pretty much all the major trades are just saying, yeah, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, and kind of what they do with it is going to be the big question, rather than will they. Candyman also moved to 2021, so steering totally clear of this year, which is to say, what the fuck is coming out for the rest of this year? I have an answer for you. No Time to Die.
Okay, so this movie, I said it with Tenet, but No Time to Die, especially after this trailer that was released, I might find myself really, really struggling.
You're sweating.
I'm sweating. I might give in. I might pencil this motherfucker in, is what I'm thinking.
Well, No Time to Die. We got a second trailer for it, although I feel like it's called Trailer 2. I swear to God, we've had like 3 or 4 trailers. I mean, this thing was supposed to come out in April, like, surely there was at least 2 trailers that came out before its original release date, before they bumped it. And
They're going to
this was
keep
the one
releasing trailers. We're going to be able to stitch together the whole movie.
Yeah, but this is the one that like, this is the one that like moved first, and everyone was just like, "Oh, fuck this is stupid," and then turns out maybe it didn't move far enough. As it turns out, we'll see. But this trailer very specifically says in theaters November. I think it's set to. I don't know the exact date. I will clarify that. But in the meantime, while I'm doing that, I'll ask you. Trailer 2. We got some new footage in here. We got a nice long look at Ana de Armas and some of the other characters that are.
Ana de Armas just completely kicks ass all the time. One of my favorite actresses, I have to say. She's just incredible.
Can't fault you there. Yeah, definitely.
And I really like the long, like in this particular. I don't know if it's been a while since I've seen a James Bond flick. I think we had intentions of doing a Craig like viewing.
I mean, we still could. It comes out in November. We've got some time.
We had talks about doing the Craig collection. I think is what we were talking about doing. But did they have the long action sequences uncut in the other Bond movies? Like
long takes.
Yeah, like for example, at the very end of this trailer, we get a car flipping, and it's all like one take, or it looks like one take, or whatever, and it just looks incredible. You got him jumping off the bridge. That looks like all one swooping take. It looks so fucking good. The car spinning around in circles, shooting people with the gun headlights. Holy shit! Oh, James Bond, dude, this movie's got it going on. You get the glider that turns into a goddamn submarine. Oh boy, I am excited about James Bond.
That's like the closest we've gotten to like old school James Bond within the Craig.
Yes.
The Craig level of films. I just feel like they've all been pretty realistic and grounded, and that's just like, oh, that's James Bond. Some ridiculous spycraft shit of just being like, oh, it's not something in his watch or like in a pen or something like that. That's a fucking aircraft that turns into a submarine, and like, I'm here for it.
So good. Oh, yeah. So excited.
I think to answer your question, no, I don't. I mean, I think, every James Bond film has kind of had a signature mark of whoever is directing it, and I think until now we really haven't had any director that has probably tried to embrace those longer takes and letting action kind of just play out within.
You had some really cinematography
the camera. So
you had some really pretty shit in Skyfall. That was a beautiful movie.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the cinematography has been wonderful, but in terms of the action and stuff like that, I'm not sure that that's really been.
Yeah, just wide scoping, like just it's so cool. It looks like it's
So that's what we call the Cary Fukunaga touch, is what I would say about that. I mean, obviously, True Detective, he showed off his one-take chops with that. I don't know if we'll get anything quite along the lines of that in this, but, clearly he's content to let, the action do the work instead of cutting every 30 seconds to, really every 1 second within 30 seconds to make things feel kinetic and
no,
cool,
they're showing just a dude jumping off of a bridge with a fucking cord. That's cool.
Just cool in action, and he's just showing us happening.
Hey, Daniel Craig, walk along this path right here in the forest. We're gonna flip a car over your head, and then shoot the car. Okay.
Just it's old school. Let the stunts just play out, and that's it. It's cool. I think it looks great. I'm excited about it. TBD on seeing it in theaters myself. Obviously, it's very tempting. All these are very tempting. Does this get delayed? We'll see. To me, putting this trailer out, a week ago or so, saying in theaters November feels like a pretty bold take of being like, nah, this shit's coming out. Like, we don't have time for no pandemic shenanigans. We got James Bond to show you. We've been waiting too long and we want to get it out there. So November 20th is the current release date in the U.S.
What if the bad guy release, like, is threatening to release Corona? And James Bond has the fucking vaccine, and then at the conclusion of fucking James Bond, in the credits, like right there at the very beginning of the credits, vaccines are now widely available.
I think,
and everybody can leave and go get their COVID-19 vaccine.
I think Avengers Endgame would get toppled at the box office. I think that's what would happen. Well, maybe not. You'd have a lot of people denying it, so maybe not. Probably do pretty well.
Like, get no fucking vaccine. Anyways, sorry.
It comes out November 12th in the UK, and I would expect that release, if nothing else, to stay on schedule. So yeah, that is No Time to Die. It's the only movie we have to look forward to for the rest of this year in theaters. Except for maybe Wonder Woman, we'll see, and Dune technically.
And Dune,
but we'll again.
we got a packed holiday season.
Yeah, November, December is really going to crush it. Everything before, the rest of this month and October. Netflix, hi, anything going on there? All right, so let's go through a couple pieces of news. The Batman, we talked at long length about the Batman looking fucking incredible on our last episode, and Batman is ready to go back into production. They got the Batmobile back on set. Robert Pattinson's back on set. Everything's going great. Oh no, things aren't going great. Robert Pattinson has COVID-19. Might be hard to film when your lead character, your lead performer, has the one thing you probably don't want him to have. So yeah, shooting has been halted on the Batman. Although I think this is news that came out probably a couple weeks ago. It's one of those things we're playing catch up on, having not recorded in a couple weeks. This kind of broke pretty early after we recorded our Bill and Ted episode. I think things are looking okay. I found a source basically saying he's recovered, he's feeling fine, and they're planning to resume shooting within the next week or so, which is great. Obviously, great news, but certainly.
Does everybody on set get the COVID test?
I would imagine they're probably being pretty vigilant with testing. I mean, I would think so. I would think you'd want to be testing as regularly as possible. Obviously, if anyone's symptomatic, then you're gonna do contact tracing to just see if who's this person been near. Have they been
some contagion level shit? Have
they been putting the eye makeup on Robert Pattinson and sneezing all over his face while they're doing it? Like what's going on there? So yeah, I have to imagine for pretty much anything filming that they got to have pretty strict regulations in place. And like I said, obviously, if your lead performer is coming down with the virus, you're kind of shut out of luck. You really can't work around that too much. I guess you could do pickup shots without him or whatever, but that's a pretty big deal, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
sure. So that understandably necessitates a pretty significant response. So yeah, I don't know exactly what the protocols are with a lot of these things. If I had to guess, probably depends on the country where things are being filmed. Probably depends on a certain. There's probably a few factors that kind of go into that, but one would hope that they're being as vigilant as they humanly can be, and making sure that things don't just run rampant and get out of control. So hopefully things are back on track with that, and shooting resumes, and we still get the Batman. No problems next year sometime. Next piece of news is about a TV show coming to. I don't know if we were actually. I don't know where it's coming to. Maybe Amazon. Amazon's in talks to acquire this project. Sony is planning to do. The Sony has a lot of rights to Spider-Man characters. They're maybe going to do a Craven movie. They made a Venom movie. You got Venom 2 coming. You got Morbius coming. We got that one movie with Olivia Wilde, maybe a Spider-Woman thing. They're not content to just keep making Spider-Man movies. They're expanding their horizons into some Spider-Man television properties. And the first one that we know about is that they're going to be making a live-action series centered on the character Silk, who is a Spider-Man adjacent character. Silk is Cindy Moon, who is a Korean-American student who also got bit by the same spider that Peter Parker got bit by.
I thought he smashed it when he got.
No. Well, this was a bit of a retcon. Years and years after Peter Parker, got bit and got his spider powers. Basically, I think the gist is she gets bit by the same thing, and then she gets tracked down by someone, I can't remember who, and she basically goes. They basically kidnap her for years, and then she comes out and she has the spider powers, but she's kind of emotionally stunted and developmentally kind of challenged because she's been isolated from human contact for years. And so it's an interesting character. I've read a few comics with Silk and I've enjoyed them, and I think it's a cool character, and I think she's I don't know. I feel like there's been talks about them doing films with her, putting her in the Spider-Verse movie or sequel or something like that. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Apparently, the folks that are going to be basically leading this Spider-Man television, potentially multiple shows is Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who worked on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, have a pretty good resume under their belt, aside from a little snafu where they got fired in the middle of making Solo a Star Wars story. I'm kind of, despite my apprehension with Sony in general and their usual bullshit, especially when it comes to fucking up Spider-Man properties.
They did the last one pretty good.
Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse is like maybe one of the best, if not the best, like Spider-Man thing in a while. As much as I like both Homecoming and Far From Home, Into the Spider-Verse was just so well done that I kind of am like, all right, let's see what these guys got, and Silk's a cool character that I've enjoyed. So sure. I'm going to say sure, why not on this? I'm sure you're going to say we'll see what happens. Does that seem like a pretty...
we'll see what happens.
Pretty bold take. Okay. All right. Couple more trailers on tap. Let's start with one from Blumhouse. Oh, this is another one that is allegedly going to be making its way into theaters in November as well, November 13th, just a week before No Time to Die. It's called Freaky. From the director of Happy Death Day. It's a Freaky Friday situation with a horror tilt to it, with Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn doing a little body swapping between a high school teenager and a serial killer. We'll let our listeners figure out who's playing who. Don't worry about it. What'd you think about this trailer?
I thought it looked like it could be fun. Thought it looked like a fun thing.
Blumhouse's MO is like low budget horror movies that are like pretty like kind of good for like kind of high concept, low budget, but like pretty well done like overall. Happy Death Day is a pretty good example of that.
I like how they this seems like a very self-aware kind of thing, and I think that makes it better. I think Vince Vaughn looks like he, for the first time in a long time, I think he looks pretty funny. He's not.
Oh, he's not just playing himself, right? It's like oh my god,
he's not playing the fucking crime boss in True Detective season 2.
I'm feeling a little apoplectic about the situation before me.
Oh, that was the fucking worst.
Never do anything out of hunger, not even eat. Huh? What'd you just say? The fuck did you just say, Vince Vaughn? God, I actually kind of forgot about that. So thank you.
It's terrible. But yeah. So I think this looks like fun. I think it has the potential to be bad. But I think it's I don't know. I kind of it looked like a lot of fun. I like a good spoof on a horror movie.
Yeah, it's taking a fun, kind of pretty traditional tropey film concept and adding a new spin on it, and so I think that it could be pretty fun. I thought the trailer, I think it was a well put together trailer.
That's right.
Made me think, this really has potential to be pretty fun. Nothing groundbreaking, right?
No.
But kind of a blood soaked body swap movie. I don't know. I think that could be a really fun thing to see.
There's a sequence.
I'm not going to go see this in theaters, but
no, it doesn't make you sweat like James Bond does. But there was one sequence in the trailer. You remember that old Punisher game we used to play on the computer?
Yeah.
Where there's a sequence where she like throws this dude on the table saw.
The table saw, right? Yeah.
And it just, I don't know why it reminded me of the Punisher game, but it reminded me of
Punisher execution. Screen's going to go black and white. Some blood's going to be spurting all over the place.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be for it if it popped up on my Netflix.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Is like, if they put this as a VOD option or Netflix or streaming or something like that, I would be.
Or 2018, and we're looking for something to watch in the middle of summertime.
Yeah.
I'd be about it.
Yeah.
But
yep.
2020 it is.
2020 is what it is. All right. Well, something we definitely know is coming to streaming is the subject of our next trailer, an official teaser trailer for a film coming to Netflix on October 16th, The Trial of the Chicago 7. This is written and directed by Academy Award winner Aaron Sorkin, who is the writer, well, mostly the writer and the creator of The West Wing, which I have sung the praises of on the past couple episodes, I do believe. And you know, if I may tee up something for later, I will continue to sing the praises of. Stars Sacha Baron Cohen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Frank Langella, Eddie Redmayne, Mark Rylance, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Michael Keaton, some others. It's about a quote-unquote peaceful protest at the 1968 Democratic National Convention, which does not result in a peaceful protest, and about the organizers of the protest, charges against them, and then the resulting trial that happens from that particular scenario. So based on real events.
I don't know anything about that. Do you know about that event?
A little bit, but you know, this is another one of those things of, well, not much has changed in 50 plus years, right?
And I think that's what makes that really interesting. Not to cut you off, because I don't know anything about the event, but I constantly hear about the arguments of people protesting and stuff, being where I'm at, and in the arguments that are presented in this, one line in particular in this trailer says something about like, hey, these people are unemployed and they're out marching in the streets, they're not working, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Why don't they just get a job? Or whatever. There was something along those lines. And I hear that now, you know? So it's just, it rings true. And it makes me wonder, like, is it written, is it toying with the idea that not much has changed because the arguments then are the same as the arguments now? Or is it just trying to make a narrative of today's events? Does it make sense? Did I say that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's intended to be an obvious mirror of
parallel,
you know, right? You know, it's obviously timely now because we're embroiled and now months of protests in this country, and so obviously this is kind of coming on the heels of that. And I'm sure when they started making it, they obviously weren't expecting things to be where they are now. But yeah, I think the idea was still that, you know, something that happened in 1968. You know, you've seen things. I mean, even if it wasn't about what happened in 2020, you've seen things in the past decade that are basically almost beat for beat identical in terms of just how things play out, of things starting peaceful and then going south pretty quickly. So yes, I think it's always intended to kind of have that sort of parallelism for sure. So I think
it just makes it more relevant.
I don't know how historically accurate it's going to be. I would have to assume that Sorkin's trying to go for as much accuracy as possible, but you know, certainly still going to highlight through that this is, you know, hey, you know, that this should feel a little eerie for everyone watching, because you know, you kind of seen it in your lives too. 1968 might feel like a long time ago, but what you're seeing with your own eyes does not, and you might see some similarities that hopefully make you stop and think about, like, hey, what's going on here? So
it's good.
I don't know.
It looks like good media to me. I thought the trailer was real thought invoking. I really liked it.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm excited for
especially
it.
Sasha.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yes, that line at the end there where I've never been on trial for my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
that was a good one-liner. Anyways, and I like the way that they. What do they chant throughout the entire trailer? The whole world is watching.
The whole world is watching, yeah.
I thought that was really good, too. Kind of gave me a little bit of goosebumps. I was actually very impressed with this trailer. I'm excited to watch it. And it's supposed to be in theaters, too, right? In October.
Yeah, I think probably where it's going to be, you know, allowed to play. It'll probably be in theaters, but we will have the streaming options. So
I will watch that one at home. Right, exactly.
No need to venture into theaters for this. Yeah. All right. Ready to move on to the next piece of news?
Yeah. Oh, no. You know what? I have a thought.
Okay. Tell me about your thought.
Netflix. It's a Netflix thing. I've got a Netflix thing.
Oh.
Speaking about governments and shit, I feel like I'm drawing too much political shit into this podcast, and I apologize about it.
You know, this whole year is just, you know, it's been topsy-turvy. I think we've been a little bit more vocal than we had been previously, but you know what? That's fine. It's totally fine. We got voices. We're allowed to use them.
Yeah, we have a platform, so we're going to voice our opinions. Fuck it. So Netflix put out this movie. Netflix did not put out this movie. Netflix has the international distribution rights for this movie called Cuties.
Cuties.
You heard about this?
Okay. Yes, I know a little bit about Cuties, but do tell, why are you bringing it up now, other than the Netflix
I'm bringing it up now
get?
because it was brought to my attention at work, of all places, okay, that Netflix
Of all places, another workplace conversation. Can't wait to hear what this one is.
I went into work the other day, and I was asked, what do you think about Netflix? Like, what do you mean? What do I think about Netflix?
It's pretty cool. They got lots of shit on there. I like it.
Oh, I like it. I watch a lot of shit on Netflix. Well, what do you think about them putting child pornography on Netflix? I'm like, what? What are you even talking about child pornography on Netflix? And so we got into the discussion, and apparently, and to be fair, the person that brought it to my attention didn't know a lot about it. And I haven't seen the movie, so I can't draw a lot of opinion about it myself, which is very important. You can't draw an opinion if you're not informed. But there's this movie called Cuties, and apparently it sexualizes and has child nudity in it. And Ted Cruz has demanded that the Department of Justice do a criminal investigation on the movie. And now there's boycotts of Netflix and everything else because of this movie called Cuties. If you read what the director's written about the movie, is like, no, listen, the movie is supposed to be against the sexualization of children, and you completely misread the movie. Or you clearly haven't seen the movie. And everybody that's seen the movie, that seems to be the argument. You clearly haven't watched the movie if you think that's what it's about. And again, to be fair, Netflix has put out marketing materials that is clearly sexualizing minors, right? I mean, if you look at the marketing material before Netflix or in its local regions where the movie was released, where it was released, it's completely different than the way Netflix is marketing the movie. And I think Netflix has gone on record apologizing about the way they've marketed it. But yeah, so Netflix is under fire from a bunch of people. There's a big hashtag boycott Netflix. I don't know if that's really the hashtag because I don't use the hashtags a whole lot.
Hashtag cancel Netflix. Get it right. Come on.
Cancel Netflix. Okay, so it's a big thing right now, and I don't really, like I said, I haven't watched the film, so I don't have it. I can't say definitively how I feel about it, but with the director saying you clearly haven't seen the movie, watch the movie, and Netflix says watch the movie. Everybody says watch the movie, and you'll have a completely different opinion about it. It sounds like Ted Cruz is an idiot. But I can't.
I mean, that's obviously not news. Everyone knows that Ted Cruz is a fucking moron.
If Ted Cruz is the one saying cancel Netflix, then I would have to question Ted Cruz because of Ted Cruz's history.
If Ted Cruz is telling me to cancel Netflix, I just subscribed with a new email. Is my response to that? Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it either. I know a little bit about it, just in terms of just some of it. Honestly, just looking at it right now to be
right.
Like, what's this thing about? And I do remember when the marketing material came out. From Netflix, and there was a huge backlash, which I think was totally justified. I think the initial backlash was very much justified, of being like the marketing was clearly kind of sexualizing the children in the poster, and it was just I mean, yeah, it was weird and gross. And then basically Netflix backtracked, took back that artwork and basically put out new artwork that they said was more representative of the film. The director said as much. It was just like I didn't have anything to do with what they did, and like, it's out of my hands, but it's not what the movie stands for. It's not what the movie's about. I'm looking here, and apparently Ted Cruz, shockingly, has not seen the film, because
refuses to watch it.
Yeah, well, he's a man. He's a man of principles, which is why he sucks up to the man who insulted his wife multiple times during the 2016 campaign. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that, like, Netflix seriously botched the initial marketing of it, and I think that's what kind of started things. I don't think there's any nudity in the movie. I don't think there's anything of that sort. I mean, I think there are. I think it does.
I did read online. There's a clip. There's like a split-second thing where you can see the breast of someone, but I don't know what it is.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking at the Variety article, which suggests that there's no explicit images shown in the film, but there are scenes that kind of deal with, these kids trying to,
they're in a dance troupe,
participate in adult type things. But I don't know. I mean, the director basically says, it's very much a commentary that makes the case about the dangers of sexualizing young girls, particularly, and I mean, I don't really see any reason to doubt that based on what the director has done. And again, I'm not gonna trust Ted Cruz immediately of just being like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a shit show, and Netflix completely fucked this from the beginning. I don't think there's any two ways about that. But I don't know.
It's I don't know. It just raises an interesting question of like. More, I don't even know what's so interesting about it. It's they're a distributing platform. And they distributed a movie that's been widespread across. I mean, it's won awards. The movie has it won Sundance Awards and everything else. Like, I mean, it's not like it's a. I mean, it's been a widespread successful movie that's had high praises. Netflix picks it up and distributes it in America, and now it's being claimed as child pornography, it's just real strange. And then
which is like, I mean, that's pretty strong when it's clearly not. I don't know. It's
just. Do you think it's just how do you say it? Politicization.
Politicization of yes. I mean, I think it's
horseshit.
It's something to distract from the things that people should actually give a shit about, and. It's let's just put out as much misinformation as possible to distract people from shit that actually matters. I mean, I think that's what the bottom line is.
Interesting.
And it clearly worked on whoever brought it up that didn't know a fucking thing about it other than to say that, well, Ted Cruz said this or whoever said this, so this must be bad and Netflix must be stopped or whatever, Not to say that whoever brought it up, is a bad person, but clearly it worked. Clearly it worked to just be like, oh my god, can you believe this?
The person that brought it up to me, he said at the very least, it seems like they put it out at the wrong time when it's all about hashtag save the children, and you hear about all this other stuff, and now Netflix is putting this out. Oh my god, it's it couldn't be a worse time. They're under fire, regardless if the movie's bad or not bad or whatever. Netflix definitely did a misstep, and they certainly took a misstep in the way they advertised the movie. So I don't know.
I think it's as simple as if they had used their revised marketing materials in the first place, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's probably very true.
It's absolutely on Netflix for opening the door to controversy, because I don't. They clearly were on the wrong on that particular aspect of things. It's I think the ensuing controversy that is just just blown out of proportion, which is
horseshit.
It is what it is. But anyway, why don't we go ahead and finish up with three big pieces of news, one piece of news, I guess, and two trailers. Some really exciting things to talk about to wrap up our news section, which unfortunately is running long. The perils of catching up on 2 weeks worth of news, it happens. Sorry, folks. Hope you've been entertained as much as possible. So this first piece of news concerns a pretty major casting for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in particular, a major piece of casting for the next Ant-Man film, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and whoever else decides to join the fun. So Jonathan Majors, who we saw recently in Da 5 Bloods, I guess I say recently, a few months back in Da 5 Bloods, is currently starring as one of the major characters in Lovecraft Country, which I think you've seen at least a few episodes of, and I have not, but something that we might talk about once it comes up, potentially. He's been cast in Ant-Man 3. And sources close to the project say he is likely to play the supervillain Kang the Conqueror, which
time-traveling Reed Richards' son.
Yep,
descendant of Reed Richards. Anyways,
yep, that's pretty close. I think he time travels from the 31st century. Purple helmet, blue face, green and purple suit. There's a lot of layers to this. I think that. And obviously we've been talking, in the news section for a long time, so I don't want to spend 15 minutes dissecting this, obviously, but there are a few layers here that I think are worth unpacking.
Well, let's unpack that shit, dude.
Well, first of which is that, I think the first two Ant-Man films have been pretty small stakes, not really any pun intended, but like they've been kind of not like Thanos level threats, where, oh my God, the world is at stake. It's kind of just been like, my company's about to get taken over in the first one, or the second one is, I don't know, technology is going to get stolen. Like, it's like they're pretty small scale compared to, I think, the rest of the MCU. So jumping from Yellow Jacket to Ghost to Kang the Conqueror, a time traveling, supervillain who is basically an Avengers level threat. I don't know. That seems like a huge step up in terms of scale to me. Which I think it seems like an interesting fit, makes sense. Obviously, there's a lot of time travel fuckery that happened in Avengers Endgame, and so a time traveling villain from the future kind of makes sense as a result of opening that door. I think I like that aspect of it. But yeah, it just seems like a huge leap for an Ant-Man film to tackle. And so I kind of find that interesting, just as a nugget, I guess I would say.
Jonathan Majors is a badass, at least in Lovecraft country. I think
second layer is from what I've seen him in, which admittedly is just to Five Bloods. I think he was really good in that. I've heard he's amazing in Lovecraft country. I think Enrique said that he was really good in The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which I haven't seen. I don't think you've seen.
Nope.
But would like to see. So this feels like a pretty big get for Feige and Marvel Studios and company. Like,
seems like a big get for Jonathan Majors. Fuck yeah,
for sure. I mean, yeah, both ways, it's a pretty big get, but yeah.
So, what would be the larger implications? I'm pretty sure you're probably more informed on the villain himself. You say it's big implications for the MCU. I mean, how is King the Conqueror a pretty big deal? I think I read somewhere that he goes back in time to try to like pick up Apocalypse as his like protege or something in Egypt. But then he's stopped by Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four.
I know there's a period of time where he operates in ancient Egypt and rules over it, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's if he has some run-ins with Apocalypse. I can't really speak personally to that. I mean, what I know of Kang the Conqueror is basically he's had several iterations as a result of his time-traveling capabilities where he is...
causes a lot of problems.
He's a descendant of Reed Richards, as you mentioned. He's actually a young Avenger at one point in his life, and then he's ruler of ancient Egypt, and then he's a supervillain for the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. Basically, he's got a multitude of superpowers. Basically, because he's time traveled, he has tons of knowledge. He's genius level, skilled tactician. He got this battle armor that he can use to. He's got to have super strength, project energy blasts.
All the stuff.
All the stuff basically. So like, like I said, when you're jumping from someone that can go shrinky and go biggy to someone that can turn invisible and go through people, like I don't know, this feels like it's a substantial step up in terms of threat level.
I guess you're right. Yeah. Okay. Do you think this is the introduction that we get to the Fantastic Four?
Well, and so...
Would that not be the most fucking coolest thing, where Ant-Man's struggling to beat this guy and then fucking Fantastic Four comes in? Holy shit.
I don't know if this is necessarily how we'll get the Fantastic Four, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Fantastic Four interact with Kang the Conqueror at some point. I just have to think this can't be a one-off role. Like, this almost feels like... even if he gets defeated by the end of the movie, like time travel shenanigans just allow him to just pop up in future films. And so I'd love to see him just pop up in, multiple iterations. Like, even if it's kind of out of time, or like when we see him here is like a later point from when we see him in a future film, which is an earlier point in his time traveling shit, where like he's like, oh, that hasn't happened for 400 years for me. That's weird. Okay, cool. I just, it could get confusing, obviously, but I just think it would be interesting to have him as a recurring threat or someone that pops up as an Avengers type ultimate threat, even if he pops up in different movies with different roles and honestly kind of as different characters. I don't know. There's just so much potential here.
I just need a fucking Doctor Doom. That's all I need.
And we need Doctor Doom for sure. So I don't think we'll see Fantastic Four and Ant-Man 3. I think that's probably overcomplicating it a little too much for the purposes of an Ant-Man film. I think we'll probably just get the Fantastic Four proper and Fantastic Four whenever that does come along in the next few years.
Maybe a post-credit screen would be pretty cool. Post-credit Fantastic Four thing.
Maybe.
That'd be pretty cool.
Maybe. But one thing to be said, which is kind of along these lines, is that this is the first instance, as far as I'm aware, of Marvel Studios using characters that they now own, courtesy of that Fox acquisition. Kang the Conqueror was a Fantastic Four villain originally, which means that all of his rights were subsumed within Fox's Fantastic Four rights. So this is Disney,
leveraging their new properties.
Yeah, they got their new toys, and they're busting them out. They're busting them out of the packaging, and they're ready to play with them. So
yeah, that's cool.
So I think that's pretty neat. I do like that. It's got some woo-woos in the background. Sorry for anyone who can hear that.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
Has the fire reached your home?
Let me take a quick
Is the sky orange?
Nope, I think we're good. I think we're good.
Good deal.
But yeah, so I think it's really cool. So I'm excited for the character. I'm excited for the actor. I'm excited because Kevin Feige and company don't let us down all that often, if ever. So lots of things to get excited about.
Tell you what hasn't let me down.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about
Hard
it.
segue is the fucking Dune trailer. That did not let me down in the slightest.
Fear is the mind killer.
When fear is gone, the only thing is left is me, or whatever the fuck the quote is.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool as shit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
fucking Dune.
It's finally upon us. We finally have a trailer for Dune. We've been talking about this movie for ages. Talking about this ridiculous cast that it boasts. Denny, our boy Denny.
Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve, Denis Villeneuve, however you want to refer to this man. He's one of the most exciting directors I think out there working in Hollywood, between Prisoners, Sicario, Blade Runner 2049,
and now Dune.
This is a massive undertaking, right? So I mean, I know how excited you've been for this, so I think it's only fair that I just let you go off. Tell me what excites you about this trailer. What is it about it?
Okay, so we start with, what do we start with? We start with fucking Timothée Chalamet.
Yep.
Okay, I haven't seen him in a whole lot. At least I don't think I've seen him in a whole lot.
Yeah.
But this is my introduction to the actor, which it very well could be. Off the top of my head, he looks fucking incredible. He looks like an awesome actor. Looks like he's totally nailing the fucking role. 110%.
He's very good, and things I have seen him in, I can attest to that.
So I am 110% on board with him. We also have Poe Dameron sporting a ridiculously fucking awesome goatee, and just this ridiculous beard. It's awesome. We have the technology in Dune looks so cool. They have these like armors that they use, and it like prevents bullets and stuff going into, like, it's like armor that protects your whole body from like quick kinetic things. And so the only thing that you can kill somebody with is like knives and stuff. So it finds a futuristic way to bring back swordplay, which I think is super awesome. So you'll notice like a lot of the guys are using like knives and machetes and shit. And that's because the only way to get the only way to penetrate the armor is slow moving like blade action, which is super cool. We also have the giant worm, the fucking Dune worm that processes the fucking sand on the planet and turns it into spice. Oh, it looks so cool. You have Leggy Bay trying to stab him, or I don't think she was trying to stab him in the neck. Was that Leggy Bay trying to stab him in the neck? I don't think it was.
I don't know if that was her. Someone like with wearing a veil, so it was kind of hard to see. But this is he's putting the hands in the box, pains in the box, whatever. Is that what you're talking about?
Pains in the box, yes. And she teaches him to if you remove your hand from the box, you're dead.
Yeah.
He doesn't remove his hand from the box. He conquers pain and fear. Oh, it's so so riveting. It's so cool. I can't tell you how excited I am. It makes me want to watch the real bad movie that I have in my Blu-ray collection somewhere. The original Dune. Yes.
Hey man, I mean, I'm down for a well, we can do the David Lynch film. We can do the mini series that was like early 2000s, I think. I know.
I never saw that.
We could do it. We can do it. You know, we could even read
it's
the
a really
book.
cool property that really goes
that?
off the rails. It goes off the rails, I think, in a number of books. I wouldn't mind reading the first book.
I think that's what I would do. Is
Sarah's dad actually read the first book.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he seemed pretty. I showed him the trailer when it came out, and he was pretty excited about it.
Nice.
But anyways, it just looks so awesome. And if it comes with the visuals and just the energy that 2049 had, I couldn't be more excited about it. I really couldn't be more excited about something not Star Wars. Like, it's just, I'm Star Wars level excited for this movie, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean,
you got Dave Bautista, you got Skarsgård whispering, kill them all, or whatever. Yeah. It's just, and then you got like him coming out of the mud or whatever. He's like taking a mud bath, and it just looks so fucking cool, man. It looks so cool.
You got Jason Momoa being a badass, just fucking slicing people and shit.
Yeah, Jason, I'll be honest with you. The one thing that pulls me out of the
takes
super
you out
cool
of it a little
movements is Jason Momoa. Let's fight them like, what's he say?
Animals? Is that what he says?
Fight them like animals or whatever. I don't know what he says, but it kind of detracts me a little bit because he's just so fucking excited. But
well, you got Poe Dameron.
And I'd be honest with you, if I was
Thanos.
You do. You do. Yep. You have like the sword salute where they bring the blades up to their head, they're over their heart and over their head, and that's cool. But just the tone, the color, the palette that they use for the entire thing is fucking cool. I really think they nailed this trailer. This marketing team, I think, is on point. Or all the material, I hope, and this is my hope, that all the source material that they had to draw from for this trailer is just incredibly on point. Like, it didn't matter what they pulled from the movie. It's going to be really fucking good.
And Denny we trust, you know?
And Denny we trust, yes. The
man has not let us astray thus far.
I haven't been this excited for a movie. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was pretty pumped up about that No Time to Die trailer that we talked about earlier. I was pretty pumped up about that. But I watched the Dune trailer again, and I haven't been this excited for a movie in a long time. Yeah. So, that being said, when it comes out, I don't care how it comes out. If I have to wear a Dune filtration mask thing that they have in the trailers to go see it with the thing up my nose, I'm going to go see it. It looks fucking bonkers awesome.
Your ass is walking into the theater with a hazmat suit on.
That's it. We're watching this shit in the biggest format possible. This Dune is what... Denny needs to be posting on social media. Dune is what saves cinema for sure. Yeah, I could not be more. I watched this and I watched the Mandalorian trailer that came out today. We'll talk about that later. I watched both of these on the toilet at work with the lights off.
Yeah, you had to have optimal viewing conditions. So
optimal viewing conditions the moment they're released.
You're on the throne.
I'm on the throne in the dark because the vent fan comes on with the fucking light. So I had to turn the light off, the vent fan off, so I could hear.
Well, it's like a theater, you know. You just. The only light source should be the screen.
We have two bathrooms at work. We have like the customer bathroom. It's real long, right? It's real big, and then we have this real small, we have this one small bathroom that nobody uses, and it's got tile all the way around it. It's all tile all the way up to the roof. And so it makes your phone sound really fucking loud as long as the vent fan's not on. So I turn it off. I turn off the vent fan and the light. So I'm just sitting in this like 5x5 room. Like, it's real small. There's just room for a toilet and a sink. And it's all surrounded by tile. I turned that bitch off and watched the Dune trailer, dude. It was fucking perfect. It wasn't perfect, but it's as perfect as it gets.
You just watch the movie that way. What do you need an IMAX for?
Go to work and watch it on the toilet. I can't convey to you how excited I am and how perfect I found this trailer. The fucking worm coming up and shaking the sand and the people running, and they finally get to the rocks because, like, if you've seen Tremors, you know that the worms can't go through the rock. You ever seen Tremors? The old school Tremor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude. So excited. What about you? Are you so excited? I've been going on.
I'm pretty excited. Well, I wanted to give you the platform. It's usually me just ranting and raving about things, and you're just like, yeah, man, we'll see what happens. But I knew that this was one that I could let you take the lead on it, and you would do it more justice than I would, and I think you absolutely have. I don't have much else to add other than I'm pretty stoked about it. Definitely makes me want to go back and read the book. I'm the same way. I don't feel the need to read 800 books. Like I'll just maybe read the first one and be
like at one point,
it,
I think the descendants of
it goes from Frank to son or sons or something like that.
No, I mean the descendant of Timothée Chalamet's character.
The character itself, yeah.
Yeah, he turns into like a half worm hybrid dude.
Oh yeah, that
like,
makes sense.
The
Perfect.
Universe.
Yeah,
it gets real fucking wonky. I don't think we need to go that far.
Yeah,
but for the sake of this, it looks fucking cool.
Yeah, and one thing I just kind of remembered is I'm pretty sure Denny wants to make 2 of these things. So, like, I'm not even sure if this covers the span of the whole first book either. So,
and you notice in this trailer here, he says there's a crusade coming, or there is a crusade, or whatever. It makes it sound like it is like this movie is the War of Arrakis, or I think that's the planet that they're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the battle for the power of the universe, which everything uses spice in, I think, the world. So, or in that property. So spice is the commodity to have, and this is the war for the planet that generates the spice. So it's really fucking cool. I'm real excited about it.
It's very cool. Very excited. Well, hopefully we can see it when it comes out.
I will be seeing it when it comes out. Not hopefully, unless I, pass away or something fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I will be seeing the shit.
But I still am fully expecting this to be a 2021 movie, which is hopefully free and clear of pandemic concerns and stuff. Knock on wood. So
hashtag release this on Christmas instead of Wonder Woman. I went on record.
Well. We'll see. All right. Last but not least, something you mentioned briefly just a few minutes ago. We got the official trailer for season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Fuck, dude. You want to hear about you want to go ahead? I'm sorry. I get excited about this.
No. I will turn it over to you momentarily. I just want to say, start streaming Friday, October 30th. So we have just over a month to wait until we have some new episodes of The Mandalorian. Now, with regard to this trailer, let me just take another backseat. What's going on with this trailer?
So I watched this in the small bathroom with the lights off today.
The bathroom theater. Yep.
Approximately at 11:30. I went and I sat in the toilet, turned off the lights, and watched this thing. Oh, dude! And the didgeridoo in the very beginning just echoed through the toilet room, and it was fucking excellent. Oh my god! Oh man! So excited. Yeah. And I didn't really get the effect on the plant. Actually, I saw a little bit because I got a small iPhone and it's pretty old. And there in the beginning, the ship that the Mando rides around on, it's like, is his ship open, floating through space, like going to that planet? And it totally was. I watched it again tonight, and his ship is open, and like the very intro sequence, like the hatch of the ship is open.
Yeah, it's open. One of the engines is fucked up looking, like it's like sputtering. Like,
yeah,
he's landed for repairs. I think it looks like. So
yeah, hopefully he's got hopefully the cockpit is not exposed to space.
Yeah.
But there's X-wings that open up, and it looks like they're in pursuit.
Yeah, they're fucking moving.
Looks like you have potentially a Jedi. There's a lot of talk of Jedi in this, and there's like a robed woman at one point. And then you have cute little baby Yoda like seeing the hummingbirds or whatever the fuck there are. Whatever he calls the things in his gauntlet that fly around and blow everybody up. Once he activates them when he's surrounded. Little baby Yoda flips the hatch on his bassinet and it closes up. That was pretty cool. Yeah, so I mean, there's not a lot of go on this trailer other than like didgeridoo and Mando and Baby Yoda, but it was enough for me to get excited.
Yeah, I mean,
you get those fucking TIE fighters that close up. I don't know, man. I couldn't be more excited.
I mean, honestly, it's one of those things like this doesn't tell you anything about the plot other than, you know, what we knew from the end of season 1 is like, okay, he's going to try to find, you know, a home for Yiddle, right? And so great, but like just seeing new footage from this show, new like planet locations, is like an ice location, you know, maybe Ilum, maybe Hoth type place. I don't know. Like, you don't need a whole lot. You know, you got some X-wings flying around. You got the speeder bikes. You know, dropping. Oh,
dude, the fucking speeder bikes and the people. You know, that was one thing I meant to comment about. It's a good thing you brought that up. They fly off the thing, but then you see the stormtroopers like drag their feet on the ground when like with the speeder bikes. It makes it feel like a real motorcycle.
Yeah, it looks cool. Like it looks. It's just riveting. Like it's just like, you know, like it feels. It's like it's taking things that we've seen before, but doing interesting things with them. Like even the X-wings themselves. Like, yeah, we've all seen X-wings. We know what an X-wing is, but just something about the way they move just feels,
you know,
exciting and like new.
It feels like original. I really feel like the Mandalorian captures Star Wars in a completely different way than other mediums have been able to capture Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it feels more so than like the sequel trilogy. I really dig what they're doing with Star Wars in this series. I really do. And
I think it's a really good melding of the original trilogy aesthetic with new technologies and, you know, like new filmmaking technologies. Literally, you know, I know that the volume or whatever it is they're doing, like, you know, they've created basically a revolutionary way of making the show, and, you know, they've still managed to capture the Star Wars feel and look while doing new and interesting things with it. And you know, 2/3 of the sequel trilogy I think is pretty good, but it's still it's almost too familiar in some ways, where this is familiar while still at least giving you something a little bit different. And maybe that's just because there's no real lightsabers igniting every 5 seconds in this, you know. So it's different because it's not about the Force, even though we see, you know, usages of the Force. It's fundamentally about something that's not Jedi versus the Empire, the Sith, the First Order, Palpatine.
And it's
he's still around. He's not dead. Whatever, you know. Like it's different. It's good.
The sprinkling of those things is so infrequent that it makes it feel mystical, you know?
Yeah, and it's exciting when they come along, but it doesn't dominate it.
Exactly. And it really does it does Star Wars a significant favor.
Yeah.
Really
big time. I'm very excited. You know, and I got to say, we are very fortunate that the filming of this just happened to work out. I mean, you know, that we're getting a full second season basically uninterrupted, more or less, from, you know, like the pandemic almost had no discernible effect on this release schedule. As, you know, they were able to put out season 1. Obviously, we ate that up, and they were able to film season 2 and clearly still work on it while, you know, everything is happening in the world. And, you know, we have a new season of The Mandalorian to look forward to in less than 2 months' time. It's awesome. It's just exciting. It's like, you know, we need that sort of thing to fill the void, and something like The Mandalorian is like, I don't know.
You couldn't ask for a bigger thing to fill the void like that.
Correct. That's
fills
how I
all
feel,
the void, right? So, fucking Mando. That didgeridoo really does it for me. Anyways.
Yeah. All right. Well, lots of news to catch up on, obviously, but
exciting news.
That's for this episode. Yeah, you know, and I like hearing you go off about Dune and The Mandalorian. I saved those 2 for last. I know I usually do the order of how things come out. It's like, I'm going to save these 2 for last because I know someone's going to have a few things to say about these. And I was correct. All right, so we're going to talk about Mulan, the 2020 film now, which is available as part of Premiere Access on Disney+, which means if you are subscribed to Disney+, you have an active Disney+ subscription, which is, I think, $6.99 a month, unless it's part of the ESPN Hulu package or whatever else you might have. you got to spend an additional $30 to watch Mulan and
to watch it right now.
Experience it. To watch it right now, that is correct. So Andrew was gracious enough to fork over the $30, which I forked over $25 for Bill and Ted 3. So
that's true.
It's close enough. It works out. We've done a little swap-a-roo of account information so we could watch each respective film. So we've both seen Mulan 2020 with Disney Plus Premier Access. That said, a side note, apparently it's going to go up on just Disney Plus regularly in December. I don't know why they announced that now. It seems like a bad idea, but we got a film and television podcast, so goddamn it, we're paying $30 to watch Mulan. We'll talk about whether it's worth the price point when we get to recommendation. We got a few other things we're going to talk about first. And what we'll first talk about is, what is this film? Who made this film? It was written by Rick Jaffa, Amanda Silver, Lauren Hynek, and Elizabeth Martin. Directed by Nikki Caro. Starring Yifei Liu, Donnie Yen, Jason Scott Lee, Yosan An, Gong Li, and Jet Li. Much like the Ballad of Mulan and much like the 1998 animated film, it centers around a young Chinese maiden who disguises herself as a male warrior in order to save her father. Now, I also want to briefly talk about how the film's doing, especially in light of the controversies that we talked about earlier in the episode. So, I guess starting with the Disney Plus Premier Access model, we don't really have a good grasp on how it's doing. I'm sure Disney has internal data that is saying, hey, we're making lots of money from this, or, oh, this didn't work out as well as we wanted it to. But we don't really have access to that. The public doesn't have access to that, I'll say. There have been a few third-party analytics done basically trying to assess whether this is a success. And from what I can gather, just looking at a few things, is that there is no real consensus on how it's doing for Disney. Some are saying that it was generating, downloads close to what Hamilton did for them when that came out on Disney Plus, and some are saying that it's not even close to what Hamilton did. Some are saying it's an unmitigated disaster. Some are saying that it's pretty good. So I truly have no idea what to make of it. I guess what I will say on this particular front in terms of the viability of this $30 Premier Access model, I would say if Soul or even Black Widow ends up coming out on that $30 Premier Access model, I think it's a pretty good indication that they're happy with Mulan's results. And if none of those films make their way to Disney Plus, then I think it's probably safe to say that they're not overly pleased with how Mulan did on Disney Plus. Now, in terms of the box office, obviously it's not playing here in the States, but it is playing in China. And it's certainly in theaters in China. However, it seems that the Chinese film goers are not loving it, or at least they don't care enough to go see it in theaters. $23 million opening weekend figure for Mulan in China, which, to quote Variety, is far from the slam dunk that it had hoped for in a critical territory. So, not great, obviously. Especially given, the whole thing of filming in China and now the controversy that has generated here in the States. It's just not great for Disney overall. And obviously, Disney is probably getting screwed a little bit because this movie didn't come out when it was supposed to in March because of the pandemic. And sure, I think you can absolutely chalk up some of the disappointing results to that. But as we've talked about with the controversies, whether it's because of the actor playing Mulan or if it's because of Disney themselves in terms of how they made the movie, they've certainly shot themselves in the foot. So anyway, that's enough about all that. We've been here a while, so let's move on. So I guess at the outset, as you I think talked about in the very beginning, the 1998 animated film is one of your favorite Disney films. I think was what I think those were the words.
Yeah,
those were close to the words you used.
For sure.
So have you seen it recently? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it in a while. I think I've seen it within a couple years.
Okay. Also on Disney Plus for anyone that happens to want to watch it, I will say. So what is it about that film before we get into the new one that really really appealed to you?
So the cartoon, the music's incredible. I think the songs are outstanding. The comedy's great. Mushu the Dragon is awesome. And I think more so than anything else, I think this is like the first. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've been wanting to make this a point since I've seen the remake, and I've been searching through my head. I haven't looked anything up, but I can't think of any other Disney princess, maybe besides like maybe Pocahontas, but I haven't seen Pocahontas in forever. How many Disney princesses go out and just kick ass? Like female can just kick ass, right?
Yeah, I'd say if
and I think that's
if
like
Mulan is not the first example, it's very rare. Yeah,
I think it's like the staple of this movie is, hey, listen, it doesn't matter if you're a male or female. I have a want to serve, and I have a want to do things, and I can do it just as good, if not better, than my male counterparts. And that for me was a big thing when I was a kid. Like, hey, that was awesome. It sheds a different light on female protagonists, I think. And I thought it was it just, I don't know, it still blows me away. And like I said, the music's really great, and the music shines through to this, but in a completely different way. They put it, they have it in the orchestra, and they have it in the score, which is cool.
Right.
But there's a certain magic in the original. There's a lot of heart in the original movie that I really thoroughly enjoyed, and I still thoroughly enjoy watching it. I think it's a very good animated feature. So I really, really thoroughly enjoyed the first movie, or the original film, I should say. So just tacking onto that. I like the 98 film. I rewatched it before I watched this new one, and I honestly think that was probably the first time I'd seen it since I was a kid. I think we had the VHS, but I honestly don't know that I'd seen it probably within at least a decade, probably longer. And so it was sort of revisiting, but also kind of just like, childhood memory is what it is. I remembered bits and pieces. I knew some of the songs. I know, I'll Make a Man Out of You, and Reflection, and some good stuff like that. But for the most part, it was, filling in a lot of gaps that I had. And so I really, really enjoyed the 1998 animated film. I was a big fan of it. Good voice cast with Ming-Na Wen. Eddie Murphy, obviously, as Mushu is a great source of comedic relief, and B.D. Wong as Li Shang. So it's much like a lot of these Disney films, it sets the bar high. This is probably, how many of these live action live action adaptations have we had at this point? This is like maybe the fifth or sixth at least. Is it fifth or sixth? I said 3. We got Lion King.
It's way more than 3.
Aladdin,
Lion King,
we have
Aladdin,
Jungle Book.
Cinderella, Jungle Book, Dumbo, Beauty and the Beast. That's at least 6 right there, just offhand. Maybe one. Oh, there was the Lady and the Tramp one, which I don't think either of us saw. So they've made quite a few of them at this point. So I guess the point being, like, there's some good animated films. Like, Disney has a really, really impressive resume of animated films that we've obviously enjoyed, growing up watching. And now it comes along with, another one of these live action adaptations, and there's a legacy to live up to, right? Of, hey, it's not like it's not going to be easy to surpass what came before,
and they don't try to be fair, they try to make them different.
And so, yes, right, yeah, and so that kind of leads to the point of, well, I guess if you can't be it, why not just do something different? Like you can obviously just try the Lion King approach of, I'm going to make the same exact movie, but with 3D CG animation, of everything, where everything's hyper realistic, but it's virtually identical otherwise, except for some tumbleweeds flying around for 5 minutes. Or you can do what this film did and allegedly go back to the roots, adapt the Ballad of Mulan, kind of change it, maybe try to make it more historically accurate. Again, allegedly, I'm not sure if that's actually true. and turn it into basically, you know, like kind of like a martial arts action film, right? Isn't that kind of what it boils down to? Instead of, you know, it's not a musical anymore, as you said, even if some of that is incorporated into the film. It's pretty different. You know, it's not intending to be a one-to-one, shot-for-shot remake, you know, a live-action adaptation. It's very much hey, it's a similar concept based on the same thing, with some similar, you know, ideas in terms of plot and maybe some characters that are shared. But for the most part, we're going to kind of do our own thing and see where that takes us. So I guess that is all a backdrop to ask you, you know, the obvious question of, okay, it's different. It's not the animated movie, but how did you like it, first of all? I mean, how did you like this 2020 film? And then, you know, with that reverence that you have for that 1998 film, how does it end up comparing, you know, to make the obvious comparison?
So I think that this film was missing a lot of the magic that made the original film so irreverent. I think that this it felt devoid of the soul of the first movie. You know, it felt like they tried to make a live-action, grounded thing. Then they tried to incorporate a level of magic into this movie that I think did itself a disservice. I think it took away from what made Mulan so awesome.
When you say a level of magic, are you saying that in a literal sense or in a metaphorical sense? Like it's missing the magic, or it's like, you know, like what exactly are you striking?
So
at there? Without being spoiled.
So the original movie had zero magic other than ancestors coming to life, right?
Okay.
And
this takes a different spin on things.
It does.
Yes.
And it just, like, the one thing that I thought was so cool about the original Mulan was it was a real person who had the supervision of the ancestors through Mushu, I guess, right? But her world was very grounded. She did everything on her own, through her own perseverance and through her hard work and everything else in order to get things done, right? In this movie, they integrated magic, and I think it pulled away from what made, I don't know, it didn't feel right, you know? It didn't need the magic. You know, you have a female-centric character who's wanting to take her father's place in the military, and I think there's a story to be told there that's a very real, true story that doesn't need magic. And I think it pulled away from what made her so compelling. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can probably further this thread in more detail and spoilers, but yeah, I agree with you. It kind of strips away what makes, I don't know, it's like trying to make her more interesting, but in the process it makes her less interesting. You know, like it was a deliberate attempt to, you know, make her feel more like, oh, she's a chosen one. She was always born for this, and it's just like, well, it wasn't really the point. Is that, like you said, she worked to get where she did, and it's just a fundamentally different spin on the character, and one that undermines, I think, kind of the messaging of the original. And you know, it's a different film. We all get that, but yeah, I think I absolutely see where you're coming from.
Other than that, I miss the music, which I don't need the music to be. I don't need the music to be in it, but the songs and everything really helped convey the characterization of the character, especially when she's singing about, like before she goes off to war. I also miss the fucking cherry blossoms at the end with her father. I found the father so much more compelling in the original movie. Like, I haven't seen it in over 2 years now, but I can still see the father walking around with the cane, and they still tried to do that in this one where he fixed his knee brace and tried to like walk up there, but he couldn't do it. And I don't know. There was
it's missing something. I mean, well, and I think we can kind of identify what it's missing. I mean, it's missing joy. It's missing the joy and the spirit of the original, and it's sacrificing that to kind of be a little bit too self-serious about everything.
That's true.
And,
yeah.
And I think it cuts both ways for me. I'll say that I, on one hand, appreciate that it wasn't just, again, trying to do the Lion King approach of, let me just make the same movie over and over again, and that's good enough. I respect its attempt to differentiate itself. However, I don't think it's fully successful in doing so. I think it's on the right track, but it could have been a lot better, even while doing all of that. I just think there are some elements. I think the magic thing that you talked about particularly is one thing that was just like, ooh, that is a big sore spot that really just did not need to be changed. Yeah. There are changes that could be made, and this film does make, hell, her name's different in this movie, which I think is closer to what the actual, the ballad of Mulan is, but it overcomplicates, I think, a lot of the plot, and it takes a 90-minute animated film and turns it into a almost 2-hour action,
which
romp,
would be fun,
martial arts romp, but it doesn't stick the landing in making that transition fully. And I will say to not come across as sounding overly negative, I actually thought this was fine overall. It was
fine.
I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate spending 2 hours with it. I thought that it was completely enjoyable and fairly well made on the whole, with some exceptions, I guess. But I don't know. It could have been a lot more. And I think even accepting it as being this different thing that is content to just be this martial arts action adventure type thing, it still fell short of that potential that it promised. While still being totally fine in its own right. Again, not a bad movie, I don't think, but just one that, it had the makings of being something more, and it just didn't quite hit the mark on a lot of those things, I guess, overall.
That's just it. I think one thing that was definitely missing was the God damn it. Okay.
Comedy?
No, not necessarily comedy. The camaraderie between the
camaraderie. Yeah,
between the soldiers. Like there was
the soldiers.
I had I had no sort of like feeling towards anyone else other than Mulan.
I think that's true of the characterization of most of them. Is there's just not enough depth to most of these characters, and I think even Mulan was honestly kind of pulled in too many directions. I think the animated film's a bit more simplistic in her portrayal and her relationship to her family, to her soldiers, and I think it works because it's not pulled in so many different directions. Like you kind of just she's got a relationship with her father that's obviously very important. She's got a relationship with Li Shang and the animated film, and that's obviously important too. Here it's like, well, she's got a mother, she's got a father, she's got a sister.
But even like the big guy that wants to give everybody hugs and tell them to calm down. You got that one real angry guy,
those guys are a lot more endearing too, right? Yeah, I agree.
But all that was missing in this.
Yeah,
they tried to draw feelings on it. You could feel where their attempts were, but it just kind of fell flat. And for 2 hours, I feel like you could have definitely like emphasized those relationships between, her father, who largely I feel like is devoid of any sort of emotional connection. You could have emphasized the relationships of the people that she was in, basic training with, and you could have really emphasized those interpersonal relationships for 2 hours. You get more of those connections in the cartoon than you do this, and the cartoon's a fraction of the length. And I think that's really where it falls short. Don't get me wrong, you get the music and stuff in the original Disney movie, which definitely makes it endearing, but the characters in this movie are just they all just fall so flat.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I just think and for me, I think I point to it overcomplicating things in the sense that it decided that it needed to have more characters instead of giving, and again, just pointing at the animated film, like even just the commander role in the army is filled by one character, whereas here it's kind of there's Donnie Yen, and then there's the sort of love interest character maybe who's closer to her age, and like, okay, great, fine. But then there's the 3 or 4 other yahoos in that army who are kind of devoid of personality, other than like one's kind of goofy, and the other one's like, I don't know, like they're not as exaggerated as they are in the animated film, but that honestly did them wonders in the animated film, because
sure. Gave them a lot of personality.
Because they had personality, where here it's just like, it's just a bunch of dudes.
It's
It's just a bunch of dudes, and it's just like they're kind of nondescript dudes. There's the one guy that like, I guess he gets kicked out, spoilers or whatever, but like even he had no character other than like he's dishonest. Fuck him, Whereas the other ones are just like, I guess they're kind of crass sometimes. Or this guy's, he's clearly like looking at Mulan like, what's your story kind of thing. And it's like, but like there's really not much to any of them.
No,
that makes them feel endearing or compelling.
And they tried to draw a lot of characterization from the female baddie.
Yeah.
And they tried to. I think that's where they tried to pour the. I don't know. That's why I feel like they had a lot of concentration on that one particular character, and even that character kind of felt a little flat.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have done more with that. I mean, that's obviously a pretty major change. That's a totally new character for this. I think that's probably the one change for me that I think worked the best in terms of trying to create this enemy parallel with Mulan of, hey, women will never be respected. It's not how our society works. Like, I kind of think that is an interesting idea on paper, but I think it's one that's just not fully fleshed out, and that character's role in the film ultimately, I think, doesn't feel as satisfying as it could have. Like, it feels like the messaging was attempted, but not quite conveyed in the way that it needed to really, really seal the deal or make you understand the impact of it. And maybe, that screen time takes away from the other characters and letting them kind of have personalities too. So I guess, that's a consequence, is if you're devoting your energies to this one character and trying to make that the focal point of the arc for Mulan, you really need to make it work.
Like you said, it overcomplicates things. If you want to demonize like one particular set of characters, go ahead and demonize those set of characters, and then focus your points on the camaraderie between these people and what she's doing and everything. I think that's where the cartoon really nailed it. They didn't spend a lot of time on the Huns or anything else. They just, these are the bad guys. This is what they're doing, and this is what she's doing, and this is what she's doing to persevere through the challenges of being a female in a man's army. And I think that There's no nuance to the villains in the animated film. They're just evil. Yeah, they're just bad. And
it was
bad guys. It was a simply incredible. It was an incredible. I think it was an incredible cartoon in spite of a very simple thing, And and I thought it was incredible when I was like 10 years old or whatever, however old I was when I watched it, and I thought it was really good when I watched it 2 years ago or whatever it was. Yeah. And I think that this movie is totally fine. I think it's good. It
falls short of its potential.
I think it does, and even in spite of it being part of an IP that came before it, I think there's a lot of meat on the bone. You could have told a better story, in a different way. So I don't know. I don't want to sound too hard on it because I did enjoy it, but you could have taken the concept of this character and had a vastly, I think you could have had a vastly better movie. I think it could have been way better, because I think the character in and of its own, a character that has to disguise herself as a man in order to like protect her family's honor and everything else. I think it speaks volumes of that. I think the character itself is absolutely incredible. I think it's an awesome story. And I think that sprinkling magic in it, that she that she has more magic than everybody else and she has to hide it. I don't think it needs any of that. I think it's real simple. You know what I mean? Society says she has to act one way. She feels a desire to act another, and she has to do this and that in order to protect her father and her family. And it's in spite of what society says. I just think there's a very simple story that needs to be told, and they tried to dilute it, and I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it at a certain point, it just kind of became too much and too spread out in terms of characterization.
Yeah,
that it hindered the overall point, I think.
That's it.
Of the film.
That's it. That's what I think.
Which
we'll get into spoilers.
The animated film will always be there. I people. Oh, this ruins my childhood. Blah blah blah. I don't know if anyone's actually saying about this film. They're probably just pointing to the controversies I mentioned earlier, obviously. But
be that what it is.
Right. Yeah. Putting that all aside, the animated film is there. It's absolutely a superior version of this story. This one is again, for its credit, different enough to distinguish itself. And it does do some things well. And unfortunately, I just think it falls short and adapting things. And, I think it could have still achieved that differentiation, but in a better manner, I guess. It just could have. It fell short of its potential to kind of reiterate those words. But what I will say about it, just generally speaking, before we move on, recommendation and spoilers, I liked the costume design. I liked the colors. I think for the most part, it's pretty well shot. I think, I can't really say anything too negative on that front.
No, it's cool. It was a cool movie.
I think it's well cast. Donnie Yen's badass, which is fun. I honestly could have used more from him. I liked Gong Li as the sorceress witch character. Say what you will about the addition of the character. I liked her in that role. Jet Li was, Jet Li. Gets a little bit of a moment to shine, which we'll talk about that probably. But I think the supporting cast did as much as they could with what they were given, and I think that's unfortunately not their fault that they just didn't have a whole lot to inject a lot of personality into these roles. I thought Louis Fei was good as Mulan without being outstanding or anything like that. I think she embodied the role pretty well.
I thought she did excellent. I thought she was a great Mulan. I just don't know if she. No, I think she was awesome. I just don't know about the material she was given.
Yeah, I think she's a victim of circumstance as much as anyone else, in the sense that, hey, you work with what is given to you, and this just to me feels like, I mean, it's crazy. This thing had 4 writers. I don't know. It just kind of felt to me like maybe too many cooks in the kitchen type thing. Maybe, definitely. And I kind of just see that being the case. I also look. We're 2 white guys, we're not experts on Chinese culture or anything like that, but it seems odd that Mulan is written by 4 white people and directed by a white woman. I don't know. To me, that just seems like, it just seems like an obvious direction of just being like, maybe, let.
To be fair, the original cartoon was
handle this. Yeah, I mean, yes.
Who wrote
I think it was directed by a white dude in 1998. So yeah, I think it's absolutely vulnerable to the same criticisms, but I guess it's just one of those things, like in 1998, maybe that was less of a snafu, whereas in 2020, you can kind of anticipate those sorts of things coming along. But regardless, I think on the whole, I enjoyed it while acknowledging that, like, it falls short in a lot of respects. But I did enjoy it on the whole. I didn't regret my time with it. But why don't we just dip our toes into the recommendation here? I think that's probably going to be where we need to go. So 5-tiered scale, starting at the top, very yes, dropping down to yes, middle ground at totally fine, followed by fine, and then last and very much least is shithouse. Where do you stand on this 2020 version of Mulan?
I think it's totally fine.
Okay, me too. I think it's totally fine. It could have been so much more, but I still don't think that it was bad.
The question is because unlike a $8, $10 movie ticket or whatever ticket prices are in your area,
yes,
or what they used to be, is it worth?
Question is
it worth a $30 fucking price? That's the question. Well, and that because that is the question now. Because now it becomes, do I want to spend $30 fucking dollars to watch this movie? Which is essentially the price of ownership of a Blu-ray.
Yeah, I mean, an expensive Blu-ray, sure.
A Disney price Blu-ray. That's what the fuckers cost. So I watched it with me, Sarah's mom, and Sarah's dad.
Okay.
Price of this ownership is approximately $7 and some change, almost $8 approximately.
$7.50 a person.
$7.50 a person. Yes. $7.50 a person for a totally fine family get together pay-per-view movie. I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
By yourself, $30 I think is a steep take. I think wait for it to stream on Disney Plus
apparently in December, like wait a few months, you're absolutely fine to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, depending on how these movies are going to be released and how Disney and other publishers choose to distribute their media, we might have to change our recommendation scale. I don't know, because that's true. This is totally fine, but at the same time, if it's only you watching a movie, it's not worth $30.
Yeah.
Our
new scale is it worth it or not?
Exactly. So, I would give it a totally fine recommendation. I would not give it a $30 totally fine recommendation unless it's like a pay-per-view kind of thing where, you pay for it and then everybody comes over to your place and watches it. I think it's totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's, so that's kind of, that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah. And there might be, the rare movie, or I mean, not even the rare movie. I mean, Bill and Ted was $25. And I think I feel comfortable saying like, hey, granted, $25 is still, it's absolutely a lot of money for one person to commit to a movie. But if
$25,
movie,
if it warrants
the quality of the movie is such that you're going to enjoy that and maybe watch it a couple times or watch it with other people, so you're still kind of splitting the costs, then it feels a little bit more justifiable, if the quality is going to be there. And this movie is neither bad nor great. It's very middle of the road for me. It is a totally fine film. It is kind of the definition of a totally fine film in my estimation. $30 is that's surely exceeds what a totally fine asking price is. And so I think that I think if you're shopping on your own and looking for something to watch, like I can't in good conscience ask anyone to spend $30 on this. I would say if neither, if we didn't do this podcast, we probably wouldn't have bothered. Maybe you would have, I don't know, but I wanted to see it, but $30, I mean, that's just a good amount of money to commit to something, to have the right to stream it on a subscription service you already pay for. It's like it's a pretty hard ask,
And for me to continue, like if I wanted to cancel Disney Plus because I'm done, I don't keep the movie.
Yeah,
I got it. In order to keep the movie, I've got to keep the subscription.
Right.
So it's a deep dig. And I don't know. I do know that this. In retrospect, this film is not worth $30 to keep Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. Oh, there's other stuff on Disney Plus, like The Mandalorian that will justify
there
that.
Are.
But yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Alone, this does not do the trick.
The ownership, the proposition is not worth it, I should say.
So yes, I guess what I'll say is probably along the same lines, is that if you can find a way to split this, I mean, I think even down the middle, I think $15 in 2020 COVID-19 pandemic times, assuming you have a job that you can actually have, an income coming in, which is a big assumption. I think it's fine. If I spent $15 to watch this and have access to it,
would have been a little bit different.
It's not a 48-hour rental. You can say that you can watch this as many times as you want on Disney Plus once you own it. Which, I mean, I'm not sure that I'm going to watch this anytime soon again, but at least that option is available to you. So to me, like $15 for like a permanent ownership while you have Disney Plus isn't so bad. But doubling that to $30 is hard. It's hard to justify. But
3 months from now, you can just watch it on Disney Plus.
Right. So I guess I would say is if you're interested in this and you can find a way to split it, I think it's probably worth it to give it a go. I think you'll probably find some enjoyment in it, while you can probably still acknowledge our frustrations with it as well. If you're on the outside looking in, you're the only one that's interested, $30 to spend. You can probably spend it on something else and just ride it out for 3 months. Wait till December. There's no real need to jump in the fray right now. I just it's hard for me to justify it that way. It really is. So I don't know. Take that as you will. Hopefully, it's helpful in some small way. All right, let's move along. Let's do full spoilers for Mulan of 2020. Well, I think if I may start, I would like to appreciate the cameo that Ming-Na Wen makes towards the end of the film.
Yes,
that was pretty great, right?
And she looks like she's 30 years old. That woman.
She is ageless. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If Mulan was live action in 1998, you probably wouldn't be able to tell much of a difference between what she looked like back then and what she looks like today.
I did point that out while we were doing our pay-per-view event of Mulan. I'm like, oh my god, that's the original Mulan. I'm like, no way. I'm like, yeah, totally way. That's her.
Yep. That was fun. I enjoyed that. I thought that was good. It was
very good.
Yeah. What else is going on here? I guess we can
talk about Chi.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't we talk about the major changes? And I guess that's really kind of at the forefront is Mulan has the Force for some reason.
Yeah, totally unneeded. I don't need Mulan to have the Force or Chi or more Chi than other people that have the Chi to make her a justified warrior.
It defeats the purpose. It's like as you said earlier, like she works to become like a warrior who, holds her own, amongst this army. In the first one, like she just puts the fucking work in. She's not, this magic,
she doesn't need to hide anything in order to do it. Like the entire time she's doing like the water bearing thing where they walk up the mountain, which is totally cool. They have that instead of like the pole climbing thing, you remember where they put the metals around the thing and she's got to climb the pole?
Right.
Well, the thing in this one is where they got to climb the mountain holding the barrels up above their head.
Right, yeah, the buckets of water, yeah.
So they acknowledge the fact that she's got more chi than other people. Is that why she wins the water? Oh, fuck. The water barrel attempt?
Right. It's not clear whether she's doing that because like, oh, I'm like putting the most work in, or because I'm magic. Like it's not clear. Like
it takes away from it. It takes away from the fucking accomplishment.
Yeah.
And it takes away from her character. And I don't know. Maybe that's petty. Maybe that is a petty thing, but I don't think it is.
So. I think it's probably like the most valid criticism of this film in general, and as a change from the original. It just really undercuts the narrative in a big way, I think, overall.
Yeah.
But I also just don't think it's necessary. Like, for the most part, this film is. For the most part, this film's pretty grounded. Like, okay, she's got magic chi that makes her like super warrior potential or something like that. And yeah, also there's this witch who turns into an eagle or a falcon or whatever, and so that's obviously abnormal behavior.
Which they had a dude. You remember that dude from the first one, the creepy dude that had that falcon on his arm the whole time?
Yeah. His eyes were all like fucked up, like he was like part falcon or shit. Like he was. Yeah, he was pretty weird. He was pretty wild.
And that was your like creepy dude.
It's like
from
a fantastical element, and like great. Like that was kind of as far as it. Well, I guess Mushu, was pretty out
Mushu
there,
was, but you had the fucking Phoenix in this one.
Yeah, which kind of I don't know. It was a little flat for me. It was like fine.
Yes, the Phoenix was whatever. It's totally fine. But if that's what your grounded representation of the elders or the ancestors is, then I get, it is what it is. But then they kind of like they wash the grounded element of that being the elders with her having chi. I don't know.
I don't know. It's a weird hodgepodge of like we want this to be super serious and grounded, and then but also chi, which is just magic energy that, she can do super kicks with while riding horses and stuff like that. And like, I'm not going to lie, like, I did kind of enjoy the sequences where
when that dude flipped over and started shooting bows and arrows, that was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. There was some cool shit that we definitely saw in terms of the action beats of this film. But I just think like it's like if you're going to commit to like a grounded take on this, like you can't have the witch, you can't have chi. You got to have one or the other. It's like if you're going to do chi and you're going to do the witch, then just give us fucking Mushu anyway. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a weird mishmash of different elements that doesn't. I don't know. It's like they picked and choose, and it just didn't make sense in terms of what they wanted to do.
Completely agree. But when that dude started shooting bows and arrows from the fucking back of his horse, like he'd hit the ground and then flip over and shoot. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty dope. I will not disagree with you. It was pretty cool.
And it was cool, the bazooka, like in the cartoon, she like grabbed that bazooka and planted it in the snow and then shot it up to cause the avalanche.
Created the avalanche, yeah.
Yeah, so they did that, and that was a really cool sequence in the cartoon, and they still did it. And that was fine. And they did it with the eagle chick causing they were getting blown up by the rocks and stuff or whatever. There were elements of the original film, and I don't want to sound like I'm harboring like I'm putting Mulan on a fucking pedestal. But when you take what the original film had, and the original film had really good qualities about it, and that's just it. The original film did have really fucking good qualities about it. They didn't need to make the same movie twice. They could have made a very grounded film and had the same story. They could have done it.
Yeah.
I don't know. They could have done it without Mushu. They could have made it a martial arts movie. They could have done everything they wanted to do. But they just didn't do it. Or what they tried to do just didn't. You had Jet Li. Jet Li's a fucking master at fucking flipping towels and tapestries around. You see that shit?
I saw that shit.
I lost it when he started grabbing people with fucking tapestries, fucking yanking them down and shit.
Well, see, my thought was, you don't put Jet Li in this fucking movie to just be an emperor that does nothing. And I'm like, this emperor's getting in on the fight at some point. And I was just like, I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's gonna do some impressive shit. But I guess I didn't see the tapestries coming. I will say that.
And I really didn't even know. I really like the emperor being a powerless old man. Like,
yeah, you didn't need it. It's just another way to overcomplicate things. It's like the emperor has to be this fucking badass character too, and it's like,
no,
you don't need that. You don't. It adds really nothing of value.
You missed the whole point. Like, you have how many writers? 1, 2, 3.
4.
You got 4 different writers in this film, and somehow I feel like they all missed the fucking mark. Like, what's the important thing of this movie? What is the Ballad of Mulan trying to tell you? Like, what are you missing? And I feel like that maybe they got it on broad strokes, but they tried to put too much in it. Like, it doesn't need to be anywhere near that. And I think it really pulls away from it. So I don't really have a whole lot in spoilers other than it didn't need chi.
I fully agree.
The score was cool. I really liked the.
Did not need chi.
The score was excellent.
Score was excellent. Yeah, I'd agree. Well, I guess just to kind of build off what you've been talking about, I mean, I think it's weird because it retains a lot of the broad strokes in terms of the plot from the animated film, but it's where that it, like, tries to build on all those things that I think it falters for the most part. So you talked about the avalanche thing, which is, like, great, but the mechanism for how she does that is completely different. And also, like, it's a point where, like, she almost kind of kills half her own army in the process of doing that. And even if you accept that everyone just makes it out alive on her side, fine, whatever. It's also like no one in her army knows that she's responsible for doing that,
right?
Like,
exactly.
And so it's like yeah. So she does the same thing to basically defeat the Ruran here, but like the impact of that is lost because she doesn't save the army. And so it's kind of a weird thing. Like, they kind of go back to it, and like, obviously, like, her revealing herself to the army is a pretty big fucking deal. Like, oh, we've been betrayed. This woman has been masquerading as a male soldier for months, and we've been friends with her and we didn't know, blah blah blah. Like, oh my god, this betrayal. And in the animated movie, it's like, yeah, but she saved her fucking lives and she's pretty awesome. It's like, oh yeah, we accept her. And here, like, they don't really know that, so it's pretty much just like, wow, you're really brave by coming back under the threat of execution. It's like, that's not as strong of a motive to, like,
no.
kind of, obviously you could just be like, well, actually, this rule is dumb as fuck, and women should be allowed to be
And if
soldiers
anything,
too.
I don't know if
they don't really go in that direction.
I can't
but,
remember. I can't remember if they revealed it. I can't remember where they revealed she was a woman in the cartoon. But it seems
she gets
like the
I think she gets injured.
Oh, is that what happens?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I watched it a few days ago. I should probably know these things, but yeah, I think she gets hit in the chest or something like that, and then basically when they're because when they're tending to the wound, the doctor comes out and starts talking to the captain. I think you don't actually hear the dialogue, but it's clearly like, there's something going on here that you should know about. And I just, it's clearly like you're trying to treat a chest wound, and you're like, yeah, this is clearly not a
male
man.
chest.
Something's happening here that, yes, correct. Right. And this movie obviously addresses that too. She has the binding to basically cover her breasts so that, and she avoids showering for months on end or whatever like that. And like, oh, you smell like shit, dude. So it does make attempts to cover the fact that this gambit that she's playing is pretty difficult to pull off, and she's obviously putting a lot of effort into concealing her identity.
The best way to fucking, if I was writing this movie, when she would expose herself as a woman is when she's in front of the fucking emperor.
Yeah.
I conquered your art.
Like I did all this shit, and I'm a woman, yo. Boom.
Yeah. Right? And the emperor would be like, yeah, okay, you know what? Obviously we made a misstep. I don't know. Maybe that would be stupid too. Maybe you just have her go back to her family and reveal herself as, hey, listen, we did all these things and I brought order to the family and I'm not a man. There's so many different ways you could have done this, and it could have been infinitely more impactful than what was delivered. So I'm a little salty on it. I think they did an okay job as a movie, but I think it could have been much more. And that's all I got for little spoilers.
Yeah, there's points that they could have hit, and they could have hit them really well, and they just didn't. Like they did a totally fine job with everything, but it's disappointing and frustrating because and we've literally talked this out loud. And it's like how did the four white dudes and women in the room not figure out well, wouldn't this work better, like narratively speaking or emotionally speaking or something? You'd think someone in the conversation would have some sort of knowledge to.
It's such a powerful really story
bring
to
it
be
all
told.
Together. Yeah,
and it could have been told so much better in a live medium.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I know we're running long, so I'll just briefly throw out some last thoughts. I thought. So the whole little Mulan thing in the beginning should have been cut. I thought that was real bad. I hated all of it.
Yeah.
It was real bad. I also thought the matchmaker stuff in the beginning with the spider, also real bad. She did the Spider-Man 1, Sam Raimi catching the lunch cafeteria scene with the tea set. And I'm like, oh, I hate all of this. So the first 15 to 20 minutes of this film are really rough. And so I was prepared to hate it. Fortunately, the rest of the film is again totally fine. We've probably reiterated that point a few too many times at this point, but I don't know. I don't know. The elements that I liked, I didn't mind the witch. I thought that she was a good addition, even if, by the end, she just takes an arrow for Mulan. It was just like, oh, well, I guess that's that. You're in charge now, Mulan, you're the only woman that's empowered to do anything in this fucking whole empire now, so good luck. I don't know. But she did do some cool shit. She kicked some arrows and shit at one point. I think when
that's pretty cool.
When the main guy dies, he he's stunned because he gets fucking an arrow kicked into his chest or whatever. It's just
how hard you had to fucking kick an arrow. You got to kick an arrow so fucking hard. You got to kick it pretty fucking hard. I would have to imagine. Well, if you have the chi, then you'll be fine. Oh, all right. My actual last thought. I know chi is an actual concept and Chinese mythology, maybe Chinese culture. It's a pretty fucking cool concept too.
It's a cool concept, and obviously, it's something that I think it's not like it was invented for this film. However, I can't help but think of Iron Fist anytime I hear the word chi, and I know that's a personal problem. But from the beginning, I was just like, oh no, Danny, my boy, you must use your chi and get Kyle to buy me some cinnamon wheat ice cream, Danny. Danny, you must fight aside Hua Mulan.
Cinnamon
She uses the chi as well. All right. I mean, oh man. So I acknowledge that not everyone is going to understand what's happening or what just happened. I guess that is a throwback to when we covered the fucking Iron Fist TV show, which was probably like 100 episodes ago. But it's just such an iconic show on Netflix that we can't help but, remember certain details from it, such as Danny, cinnamon wheat ice cream.
Damn. Oh shit, my stomach hurts. Oh.
I think I just choked on my beer. Oh boy,
I did not see that coming. Ooh, hit me blindsided with that.
Yeah. I just heard the word chi, and I'm like, I'm sorry. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I got your favorite Denny, cinnamon wheat ice cream. God damn, fucking cinnamon wheat ice cream.
All right, second to last, well, an actual last thought. I'm glad Cricket made it out alive. Good for you, Cricket. We appreciate you. All right. I think we're done with Mulan talk. What do you think?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. It's been a couple of weeks, aside from laughing about the cinnamon wheat ice cream and Danny and Kyle. Hasn't been going over there. Been up to anything fun, interesting, exciting? Working?
What do we got?
Projects?
I started Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Okay.
A From Software game. The publishers that brought us Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne. Yep, it's a good game.
Mm-hmm. Kicking your ass? Or are you getting pretty good at it?
No, I started off pretty good. I just got the gist of it, coming off of it's a lot like Star Wars. The combat style is a lot like Star Wars, where it
right.
The parry situation is really heavy in this game, so I took well to it. But it's a much more refined gameplay than the Star Wars game. Mm-hmm. So I haven't had much trouble with it until I found a mini boss that like you can not fight or you can fight. And so I played for like 4 or 5 hours, and I hadn't spent any of my resources. But like in much like Dark Souls fashion, you die, you lose your resources, and so I got pretty captivated on trying to beat this one guy, who I can go back and fight. I just refuse to go back and fight him. It's like, fuck, I want to beat you now. And I spent like a couple of hours, and I lost all my resources fighting this fucking guy. It really pissed me off, and I haven't played it since. But it is a real good game. I'm coming in late to the party, but I got a buddy that owns the game, and he shared it on the Steam library. So I had a day off or whatever, so I played it for quite a while, and it's a lot of fun. I like it. It's a good game.
Nice.
Cool. What else do we have? The Boys season 2.
Yep, up on Amazon. Well, some of it's up on Amazon. I guess at least 4 episodes so far.
Yeah, I'm not completely caught up, but I caught a couple episodes of that. I think I have 1 or 2 episodes behind on Lovecraft Country, but I do like that a whole lot. That is scratching an itch that not many shows scratch, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, just if I may cut you off for just a brief second, I think Lovecraft and The Boys are both shows I think we're going to want to cover once they wrap up. So I think they'll both be scheduled to wrap up in October sometime. So I think we can roughly pencil those in. But it's good to hear that Lovecraft is good. I haven't started it myself, and for once you're ahead of me on The Boys. And it's a little bit of a role reversal here. So and I don't, you didn't really say too much on The Boys, but I expect you're enjoying it so far.
I am.
If I'm not mistaken.
both are pretty entertaining shows. I'd be interested.
So
to
I look
hear
forward
about,
to talking about those. With you. Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear your opinions about Lovecraft Country because I think it does have ebbs and flows, but I think when it hits pretty good.
Cool. Okay.
And what else do we have? Oh, I hung. I had a carpentry project that I partook on, and I hung some wood in my foyer area. I did whack. So I've got this area in my foyer, and I'm trying to make this wood fit. And I've got it cut like precisely, but they're stucco on the wall, so you got to kind of like tap it into place in order to get it to fit exactly. And anyways, I had this block of wood that I'm whacking on with a hammer, so I don't whack the actual wood that I'm hammering, so it doesn't leave marks on the wood, right? So I'm hammering the wood. I hammer my fucking thumb, and it hurts real bad. I whack my fucking thumb real bad. Hurts real bad.
Yeah, that sounds not great.
And it hurt real bad, but I was able to finish out the day, and then I couldn't finish the project, so I was able to get out of work in order to finish this thing because I had the scaffolding rented, and my buddy met me at the house, and we finished it up, and trying to finish it up, I whacked my same thumb in the same spot again the next day with the fucking hammer. My thumb was already black and blue from the first time I whacked it, and I whacked it again, and it hurt so fucking bad. It hurt so bad. It made me nauseous to my stomach. Like I thought I was going to throw up. I didn't tell anybody that, but you heard it here first. I
know now. The listeners know it now.
I hurt my thumb so bad I thought I was going to throw up.
How's it doing now? Is it feeling any better? So
it is.
I expect black and blue, but
it is still black and blue. The thumb like under the nail is still purple. But it appears that the blackness is wearing off, and I may or may not lose my nail. I don't know. I can squeeze my nail without much pain, so that's good. I feel like it's recovering. But fuck it, goddamn, did it hurt. Anyways, I got the wood hung up in the foyer, and it did turn out.
That's good.
It did turn out nice.
Good.
I got to listen to some. I got to paint some screws. Listening to Cardi B's WAP, which was I couldn't help but
wet ass pussy.
That is the most.
And I've heard it like 50 times so far, courtesy of Anna. So
is Anna a big fan of that?
She's a big fan of the WAP. Yeah.
It is the most hilarious song I've ever heard. It makes me laugh every time I hear it. It brings me joy every time I hear that song. And so, anyways, that's just about all I got. What about you? Do you have what? All I can hear is hit that dangly thing in the back of my throat.
I was debating whether I should start busting out some lyrics.
It was
something about swiping it like a credit card. I think is that about right?
Park that Big Mac truck in my tiny itty bitty garage.
That's incredible. Well, I might have listened to WAP on my way up to Vermont. A little over a week ago now, as when we were up there. Do you think the listeners can tell that we're drunk by this point? Do you think that's immediately apparent to them? What have I been doing? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Spent some time in Vermont, as I mentioned earlier. Listen to WAP on the ride up, probably on the way back. It was pretty chill. Not a whole lot to report, to be honest. Hanging out. Got some beach time in when it was practical to do so. Just hanging out. Lots of hanging out. Did a little bit of reading. Reading some little bit more Batman, not a whole lot. It was fun. It was nice to get away. Little getaway. The Vermont skyline is very pretty. The sunset there is something that you can't really experience in Philadelphia, I will say. So it's really lovely to kind of experience nature and enjoy nature as it is intended to be enjoyed. But it was nice. It was just rest and relaxation, drinking beers, hanging out, having a good time. Went to the drive-in theater, saw Tenet. I guess that's probably the big thing. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, A, because we're running long, and B, because I think there's a fair chance that they put it on VOD and we can at least have the opportunity to talk about it ourselves and really, really get into it, because it's a film that is very, very plot heavy. Without saying a whole lot on it, I thought it was enjoyable, while also being mostly incomprehensible. And I don't think that's necessarily because of, listening to it through car speakers. The audio mix is horrendous. I know we talked about that a while back, and like some of the dialogue
imagine
is just
that's even
completely
worse
inaudible.
over this AM.
Right. I'm sure it's exacerbated by seeing it through a drive-in, and I don't think that helps at all. I'd agree with that. But it like there's a lot of just exposition that is just very, very difficult to pick up, and just there's like a briefing scene where it's it's not really soldiers or anything like that, but it's like a team that is doing like a tactical brief. I'm like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. You guys are gonna do this. Everything's gonna be great. Hoorah! Let's go. And it's like a minute of that, and I leaned over to Anna after we watched it. I was like, "Did you get all that?" And it was obviously a joke because we couldn't hear any of the fucking dialogue that was happening, and it was just like, "Huh? What? What you guys are doing? Huh? What?" And I think a lot of the movie is kind of like that, where it's just like, I don't know. It's just a little incomprehensible and a little bit nonsensical. It's definitely a movie, I think, that is designed to be watched multiple times, and I think it kind of fits within the themes of the film to watch it multiple times to appreciate it more. But as a one-off experience, it's kind of frustrating to just not really get it, and not even just because I'm like, oh, I'm a big dumb and I didn't hear everything. It's totally my fault. No, I think the film is kind of just by design trying to obfuscate what the fuck is actually going on. So yeah, it's really well shot. The action was really cool. The use of the inversion stuff is really neat, but there's just some, I don't know. It's hard for me to really pass judgment on it after one viewing of it. And obviously, again, less than ideal circumstances, but I'm glad that I saw it. It's nice to have that, and I can lord that over you, so that's fun too. No, I'm just kidding. I hope that we'll both get the chance to see it, and then we can kind of hash it out, because I know it's something that we'll have a lot of things to say in more depth once we can kind of both meaningfully contribute to the conversation. So I'll leave it at that, and hopefully we can pick up the thread at some point in a future episode. I've been watching, Anna and I have been watching so much of The West Wing, it's ridiculous. These are 45-minute episodes, mind you, when we have watched, I think, 30 episodes in the past month or so. So we've been blazing through it. We finished season 1. We're 8 or 9 episodes into season 2. Talked about Aaron Sorkin when we talked about the trial of the Chicago 7. West Wing is his baby, at least for the first few seasons, and it's awesome. Season 1 ends on a pretty big cliffhanger. Season 2 picks up that thread and kind of runs with it. And man, the West Wing is it's riveting, man. It's escapism now. It's escapism because of where we are in terms of the political landscape and the now and the here and now. But I think it's just really well written and really well performed, and there's interesting characters, and honestly, it's interesting because there's a lot of things that pop up that are just super relevant now. For instance, there was an episode where the president, it's his first term, and so he's trying to get reelected, obviously for a second term. And as part of that, he has to make calls to potential donors. And he's like, well, I can't do that on White House property. That's against the law. I got to go to the residence. And so that I'm not on the White House when I'm soliciting donations. And it's just like that, it's just like, oh yeah, Trump literally just had a little fucking campaign rally on the front door, the front lawn of the White House, because that's not illegal at all. And it's like, I don't know. It was just interesting that like once upon a time, people actually gave a shit about things that were like the law. I don't know. It was just an interesting concept to have a president that actually cared about,
a president that we never had.
A fictional president. Yes. Spoilers: he's a Democratic president. I'm sure that's not really shocking to anyone, but
hashtag snowflake.
Yeah, sure, exactly. So I don't know, but it is interesting. There are things that come up where I just turn to Anna, or Anna turns to I, and we're just like, we just give each other the look, the patented look of just being like. They had no idea that, when they were writing this, that like we would end up where we are. So it's frustrating in some ways, but it's also just like I said, it's escapism. So I highly recommend The West Wing. It's all on Netflix, as I think I mentioned probably the last time I talked about it, which would have been the last episode that we recorded. It's really, really great. Good stuff. Last but not least, I finally played War Chest with Anna. It was your birthday gift to me, a board game. I know I sent you some text. I think I sent you a picture of our layout. Sad to report that Anna won the first game. I kind of screwed the pooch a little bit on that front. I tried to trap her because we were running in circles, and I mostly just got myself killed in the process, and it was game over from that point. It's a cool game. As I mentioned to you, it reminds me of Fire Emblem, which I've been playing a lot of recently, and I like that strategic chess-like aspect of the game. We only played the one game so far, but it was really cool, and I really like the build of the game. It's a cool box that it comes in. The chips feel nice. The board feels, I don't know, just feels like some real thought was put into the making of the game, and I like that aspect of it. So it's very cool. So thank you for my birthday gift. I'm saying that, I'm sure I said that already, but I'm saying it almost a month later. I enjoyed it. I'm hoping to play it again sometime soon. Did Anna enjoy it? Yeah, she did. I was worried because it seemed like in the middle of it, like she wasn't really loving it, but I don't know. I think it's just, getting so involved in the game and the strategy of it that it can kind of like feel a little bit too intense at times. But yeah, she enjoyed it by the end. Maybe because she won. I'm not entirely sure if that was all to do with it, but yeah, I think it's one we'll try playing again sometime soon. So thank you again. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Yeah. Can't think of anything else we've been up to recently. The West Wing has been seriously eating a lot of our time, I will say. So highly recommended.
That's
all
it.
Right.
That's all I got.
Yeah, well, that's all I got too. Let's wrap it up there. About time. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. Patreon, $2 a month. If you support us on Patreon, gets you access to our bonus episodes that we've promised for months and not delivered on, but we're working on it. Studio Ghibli's coming soon. I've got a few movies to watch. I think Andrew's maybe pretty close. You still have any to watch on your end? Are you ready to roll on that? I can't remember. Studio Ghibli stuff.
I think I have one or two more to watch. Yeah.
So maybe we'll
they're all ones I've already seen. So
okay. So yeah, the onus is on me mostly at this point, but $2 a month gets you access to bonus episodes like that one, which is coming at some point in the future, as well as early access to all of our regular episodes. So patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat if you have any interest in supporting us that way. Otherwise, you can find any information on us at our website, watchreviewrepeat.com, or you can follow us on Twitter. We are at WRRPod. Search for us on Facebook. Just type in Watch Review Repeat. It should pop up. You can be able to like our page that way. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, we have a Gmail account, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Happy to take a look and talk about any recommendations you guys have in terms of film, TV, etc., or any... if you want to chime in on Mulan, what you thought about it, whether you think it's worth $30, chime in on the controversy or anything like that. Chime in on that fucking Dune trailer. Chime in on the Mandalorian Season 2 official trailer. You can talk about that. We're happy to take a look at all that stuff. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Next episode, I think will probably be will probably be next week. I don't think I'm taking another impromptu vacation, so we'll probably be able to maintain a regular schedule at this point. Can't speak for Andrew. I'm not sure what he's up to, but he's probably just working if I had to guess.
That's probably a safe guess.
It's probably a safe guess. I'm not sure what we're going to cover. The Devil All the Time comes out on Netflix, I think, in the next few days, roughly. So, a little Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson action on Netflix could be something that drives their interest. I guess you're probably not rushing to see Tenet at this point, which I appreciate. But that's always an option for a future episode. I know you saw I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I don't think you actually talked about, but maybe that's something we can talk about on an episode too.
Yeah, I did watch that. I'm sorry. That one completely slipped.
I didn't think about it until I teed up some notes of like, what could we cover? And I was like, oh wait, I think you've seen this, but I haven't. So anyway, that's something that even if we don't do a full episode of it, maybe you can give us some fuller thoughts on it the next time we record.
Sounds good.
So I think that'll be the plan. Well, thanks for sticking around for another 2+ hour episode, and we'll catch you hopefully next week. Hold on. Are we going back to our regular outros, or are we gonna stick with our Bill and Ted ones? That's the real question. What's gonna happen here? We didn't think about this beforehand.
I say we stick to the Bill and Ted. I think they set a precedence for 2020.
All right, we're sticking. Yeah, Bill and Ted for the rest of 2020. All right. Well. Then I guess it's only appropriate for me to say, be excellent to each other.
Party on, dudes.